Sure.
All right, Twitch viewers and all of our loyal fans, welcome to the IGC podcast, episode number 40. That's right, it's 40. We have made it this far, and I'm sure I'm going to say that again when we get to 50. This is the IGC podcast for mature adults. We like to joke around, we play video games, we curse, we get rowdy, we have a good time doing it. So, this is the Sunday before E3, and tonight, post this podcast, presumably we end on in a relatively short amount of time. We will get to watch the Bethesda. What was it? I guess it's a press conference, right? It's a press conference coming from E3 tonight at 7 PST.
They're gonna show their stuff.
They're gonna show all their crap off. Yes. Before we get into that, we want to go over some news other than E3 because we're probably not going to hear about anything outside of E3 for the next 2 weeks. So let's just get started right off. So last time we had talked about Bloodstained, which was the huge Kickstarter, very successful Kickstarter. Coming out from Iga Kogarashi, is that his name?
Yeah, that sounds right. I
think that's his name.
Castlevania spiritual success.
Yeah.
Right?
So the Kickstarter ended at $5.5 million.
Igarashi.
Koji, that's his right. Kogi Igarashi. So his Kickstarter ended at $5.5 million, and I'm sure that the minimum fund was nowhere fucking near that. And that is the most funded. The highest funded video game ever on Kickstarter.
Not crowdfunding, but Kickstarter.
On Kickstarter, yes, obviously.
The game we shall not mention is higher.
That's
on
right.
Crowdfunding.
He would have got more money if he'd have had spaceships in there.
You think so?
I want to see him cash his check and just dump it on the boardroom table and go, "Is this enough demand for you?"
There could be consequences to that, though. We'll cover later.
Yes. I mean, we knew right away that this was already funded in 4 hours or so, and we had talked about how it was going to be cool, whatever. It's going to be on a lot of different platforms, probably mobile too. But this is like the sort of people have been talking about this like the second golden age for video games and Kickstarter. We had with Massive Chalice coming out, with this coming around, with how well Divinity Original Sin, Wasteland 2 did last year, Pillars of Eternity. We haven't, what we do see is a lot of failed Kickstarters that don't really deliver on their promises. And have you guys ever given money to a Kickstarter where nothing just happened, like it just poofed?
Yeah, not poofed, but it took a very, very long time for it to go anywhere that I liked.
I'd say almost. I'd say about 90% of Kickstarters I backed are late, and about 10% or so fail outright. You just don't hear from the person, or they come in and say that, "Hey, we misspent the money."
Like Hex. What happened with Hex?
Nobody knows.
Slow progress, but it is actually getting somewhere now. It's just about a year late
But
for
Hex
anybody
is kind
to
of
give a shit.
Kind of a good example. Like they promised that the game would be and have PvE and everything by 3 months after Kickstarter, and I think
it is some
currently
ridiculously
it still
small
doesn't have
amount.
PvE. And
There's
It
a
just
lot
got
of
PvE, I think about 4 months ago. I logged in one day to update it, and oh shit, I can fight PvE bosses and shit. Wonderful.
There are a lot of video game Kickstarters that took in a significant amount of money and nothing ever came of them. The Yogcast guys and their Yog Ventures.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
The Neil guy in that game Clang, which also took in $500,000, and nothing came of that. And these guys are, for the most part, trying to do refunds, but from what we gather, a lot of those refunds go unsatisfied, and so a lot of this money just disappears.
I mean, even with Kickstarters that are successful, there's a spotty history. I mean, look at Broken Age, right? Broken Age actually launched in 2 parts. It didn't fail, but it also didn't deliver what it promised to on the original, date of we're going to have a complete game. We're going to give you half a game, and then we'll give you the other half in a year.
And they did another Kickstarter for the other half.
That's right.
So are you guys saying Koji's Kickstarter is going to fail?
Not at all.
Oh, God, no.
What we're saying is there is a good track record of these Kickstarters that have taken in sizable quantities of people's money, and nothing has become of it. But now there may be some recourse because our lovely United States federal government has actually taken action against a Kickstarter that took in $112,000 and failed, and they're basically indicting the founder of the Kickstarter for fraud.
And this is interesting because this is a big this isn't like Kickstarter kind of create some kind of accountability or people themselves. This is like the government saying like, listen, we recognize that you took in a ridiculous amount of money that then didn't, for a promise that you didn't actually deliver, and we're going to do something to you about it so that maybe this doesn't become a trend in the future. Although it seems kind of shady whether or not this will set any kind of precedent, in this realm.
Yeah, I mean, it is the absolute definition of fraud and embezzlement. This guy took in over $100,000 for like some type of Cthulhu-based Monopoly game, delivered nothing, spent that money on living expenses for himself, and ta-da!
So why is this any different than, say, the Yodcast one? Why didn't that get action by the feds?
It's an awfully good question. So in the Yodcast situation, they made amends as best they could to try to offer refunds that have a clear paper trail of what happened with the money. And I don't know though.
Their amends were shit though.
Yeah, their amends were shit.
It was not as best they could.
If you recall, like they offered refunds like through the original. They basically dumped the refund responsibility onto the original developer, and also gave remaining money to their new developer and said, "Well, you guys aren't getting that game, but you're getting this new game for free, and so enjoy it." It's questionable there.
There have been way worse cases in this, though, of this Kickstarter. I mean, that raised more money that did not deliver anything.
Well, here's the thing. This guy is in it for himself, right? To make this game. He didn't have a company established when he put this Kickstarter up. He goes through in this article, which on Ars Technica, talking about how he had to pay artists, he had to pay to found a company, he had to pay all this stuff that he did not foresee happening. If you try to go after a big company, they probably have a legal team in place. Yeah, like they probably have a legal team in place to do this kind of stuff. He clearly did not. I mean, he doesn't have any money to pay a lawyer. I mean,
no, this guy's goal was to defraud, people who contributed to his Kickstarter. That was his goal, plain and simple.
Yeah, they'd have to find intent though. But I mean, what point can they just weasel the way out of it and just classify it as investors taking risks like the stock market?
It says here in the FTC, filing, they said the creator used deceptive tactics to raise the money, and then spent the money on things like rent, moving to Oregon, and personal equipment. Nothing related to his business model at that point.
Yeah, well, they did it with Pantheon too. I mean, the guy raised.
Yes, they did.
Brad raised what, $200K, and now is off Kickstarter.
I think that's the point we're trying to make. Kickstarters, beware. You may just not get to walk away with your finished game anymore. You may have serious consequences to face.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost better if the game doesn't, or project doesn't get funded, because then they never charge you like your PayPal, if it doesn't meet the requirement. But when it does, then your money's gone, and you just kind of cross your fingers and hope that person or company follows through with their promise. And I know we've talked about this since last year, or maybe even longer than that, where there's no accountability for Kickstarter people, and this is kind of a step in that direction.
Yeah, this is basically a short step to the end result of Kickstarter is falling under like complete investor protection clauses, because let's face it, when you invest in Kickstarter, you're investing in it. And the Kickstarter website says, "Oh no, you're not investing in it. You're not a shareholder. You're just a backer. You're just doing it the good of your own heart." The FTC getting involved tells me you are making an investment.
And what's the difference between? I mean, it's just because of wording. Oh, we're going to call you a backer, not an investor or a stockholder. It's like, well, yeah, but I own part of that because I helped make it.
Yep.
I wouldn't call it an investor just because you're not expecting any sort of.
But again,
profit.
You're right. But from a legal standpoint, the FTC coming along and getting involved in these situations lends credibility to the actual investor /
Well, just because you're not an investor doesn't mean it's not fraud. I mean, it's still fraud.
It is. And a lot of times you get a lot of these Kickstarter have backer tiers where it's like, oh, we'll put your name in the credits. Well, what the fuck does that make me then? It makes me a contributor, an investor, right? And you're putting my name on it. So I am. I think I am now because you give me the impression that I am.
I feel like Kickstarter should have been a bit more proactive with these kind of issues.
I look
Instead
at
of just
it
letting
as
them
a proactive
snowball.
step towards developing the Kickstarter/investor legal requirements and understanding. Like we all saw the Oculus situation, where you had a lot of people put a lot of money into the original, Oculus Rift, and they developed it under the goodness of their hearts, basically saying we want this to succeed. And then Oculus turns around and sells themselves to Facebook for $2 billion, riding on the backs of their initial investors who get nothing.
Yeah, and they didn't. There was no recourse for that because there legally could not have been. It was
Right.
a business deal that basically the investors enable them to make the project, and then once they have the project and product in hand, they can sell to whoever the fuck they want.
Yep.
In Oculus' defense, they did deliver their project.
Of course they did.
They delivered, so
Yeah,
I
but
think
you know
it's
what?
a little bit different than talk about.
Yeah, but if you don't listen, we talked about this when they got sold last year. If you don't think that their direction of their company changed at least a little bit when they got acquired by the biggest social media company on the planet, that's all happening behind closed doors. There's something going on that it's going to be ads and shit. We all know that. I mean, we're waiting for it. It's going to happen. But anyway, you know what? I need to introduce you guys now that we've had our first topic and we're all fired up, right?
I was about to say, I don't remember being introduced.
Because we're going to get watchers, right? So I'm Gray, your host. I've been the host for the last 39 podcasts and the 40th one. So with us today is Naughtius.
Indeed. Coming to
And-
you from the auxiliary IGC command bunker, where I am desperately trying to find a survival game on Steam that is not in early access.
There's only one.
One? Where?
There's a goat in it.
Oh, Goat, that doesn't count. Goat Z, as much as we love it, that doesn't count.
And also today with us is AI Monster.
Yep, I'm here.
I think we need to do this like first topic thing more than just go right into introductions. But also who popped in today, popped in while we were talking was Lucy. He's not there. And Papa is here.
Yep, I'm back.
Our resident
He's probably still reading this massive podcast list and just
Yeah.
in shock.
probably is looking at it and being like, what the fuck? Because there's a lot of games that don't come out on the Wii U. And Seifer is with us as always.
Ahoy hoy.
We got a bit of an audience on Twitch, and we've got some people here in the channel, so we're happy to have all of you guys. Tell your friends to come listen to us bullshit about video games for the next 2 hours. All right, so in our last episode, we also talked about a couple of the streaming services that were out there. I think we had mentioned PlayStation. Was it PlayStation TV that we talked about, or PlayStation Now? What was which?
PlayStation Now.
Don't forget
PlayStation Now.
the original streaming. No, the original streaming service, the NVIDIA Grid.
Yes, the NVIDIA Grid.
Well, that's definitely
You know-
that was the original, according to NVIDIA.
I remember us.
it's the only one I think.
And
There's no other one.
I remember us very, very in this in-depth technical talk about how we just don't have like the infrastructure to really pull this off in any kind of really important way. And then GameFly said, "Well, fuck those guys over at IGC. We heard their podcast. They suck." I don't know
I
if
thought
that's
the
true or not.
conclusion
I
was
also-
it's not a matter of infrastructure. It's simply a matter of physics.
I also disagreed with all of you.
Well, whatever. Either way, it's not going to happen in the way that we would want it to happen, okay? But GameFly said, fuck all that. We are actually going to try to launch a streaming service, and we're going to do it only on Amazon Fire TV devices because that's a fantastic fucking idea.
Huge install base there. Huge install base.
Does anyone in this room, and on this pod, even in our audience, does anybody own an Amazon Fire TV device?
I do.
You do. Okay, and why do you own it? Do you own it for GameFly? Or
No,
do you
I own
care
it
about
for-
GameFly?
I own it so I could pirate TV.
Okay, so you can pirate TV. That's understandable. There's a couple channels I guess they offer, right, that some of the other services may not have. Okay, well, either way, they're going to be offering game streaming services through the Amazon Fire TV device, and I guess that makes sense since it has a game controller and all that other stuff. And Amazon's been looking for a way to kind of figure out how they're going to put games on this thing, and they're like, hey, GameFly, let's team up and let's go and do this. How does this hit you guys? Like, this isn't making you go pick up an Amazon Fire TV, obviously, but are you interested to see how GameFly could pull this off?
No, not the least bit, because we already know they can't.
I'm waiting for
is
this fad
so
to die.
doomed to fail. It's just like I don't even know why we're talking about it.
I don't either. Like, OnLive just shut down. PlayStation Now is starting up. Like,
NVIDIA's Grid is not becoming as popular as they dreamed of, which we all, figured was going to happen.
And isn't Amazon the one who owns Twitch
This-
now?
And this is the worst
Amazon
of all those
does own
options
Twitch.
too for streaming service.
I just don't get it. Like,
I mean, how many times are they going to keep doing it until they try and come off as, oh, the 200 ms delay
I don't
is
know.
a
Until they
normal
realize
gaming
that,
experience?
gosh darn it, the speed of light is a constant. Shit.
yeah. Someone needs to tell them that, so that we can stop. They can stop trying to launch game streaming services that just clearly do not work right now or ever will ever work the way that they want them to do with the quality, graphical quality that games require, the latency that games require to be played properly. Like, everybody, I don't know why it's not a bigger topic, like the physics aspect of it when these things come out. Like these news publishers, they talk about these things as if, oh, this is going to happen, it's going to be amazing. Like, it's not going to be good.
People
It's
are
always-
fucking stupid.
No, it's always a huge argument, and they bring out their sales guys and their tech guys to try to downplay it as much as they can. They say, "Oh no, but wait, you're in California. We're gonna have a data center up in San Francisco. You're gonna be fine." Except they don't realize you're down in Irvine, and you're getting routed up to a main distribution center in Los Angeles, and then right as a fiber up, and that's your best case scenario. And you're still gonna get just because of intermittent device delay going from your computer to your router to a borders router and then onto the core backbone, you're looking at 40 milliseconds, 40 to 50 milliseconds at best, and that's a couple hundred miles away.
Well, I mean, not every game requires you to have precise inputs.
No, and we've covered that in the previous podcast. We said that it really matters for fighting games, first-person shooters, and some certain types of platformers, I suppose. But other games can adopt to it well.
Any action game, really.
Well,
Just the
maybe
largest games in the industry,
yeah, just the really popular games that have a bajillion watchers on any of the major streaming services.
Yeah, but here's the thing: they claim, okay, at best you're going to see 40 to 60 milliseconds. That's our projected theoretical model, and then you get into the actual users, and the users are seeing 100 to 200 millisecond delay.
Yeah, that's the reality of it when you boil it down. These guys are probably testing some of this shit on really good connections, but with no one else using the service at all.
Rebrand it into the Playing from Russia simulator.
Oh God. But anyway, so Amazon owns Twitch, and they're now teaming up with GameFly to do a streaming service, so you can stream your games off of GameFly through Amazon Fire TV, and then presumably stream them to Twitch, so that you can increase the latency for your input even more.
And probably have to buy games that you'll never own, so when the service inevitably shuts down all those games you purchased, you don't own them. Goodbye.
Right. Which happened to another company recently, which we'll talk about in about probably 20 minutes. But speaking of streaming, so Google decided that they want to get on board with the whole streaming thing. They already have the most popular video, thing on the internet, the video archive on the internet and YouTube, and they decided that and they do have some people that they allow to stream live on YouTube if you're a partner or whatever. You have, I don't know how it works exactly, but I know that there's some people that stream live on YouTube. Now they're going to open up a live game streaming service. And they came up with the most clever name for it. I don't know who wrote this in, but I'm going to give you credit to talk.
That's me.
Okay, so what did they call this amazing gaming streaming service for
So
YouTube?
YouTube is wanting to get live streaming gamers. And so what else do you call your service but YouTube gaming?
YouTube gaming. It's about as simple as it gets.
But what would you expect them to call it? Something completely different? I mean, they're
I
gonna
don't
use
know.
I was hoping for YOLO swag, getting that edgy.
No, the name's fine. And my thoughts on this is any more competition we can introduce into the streaming services is all the better. I mean, you've got Twitch right now, YouTube coming in noted, and May, go ahead and talk about your favorite, May.
Hitbox, but I mean, it's YouTube. They're gonna flag every single video for copyright infringement.
Damn straight. So you're going to be
And you brought up the topic.
streaming your thing with some music in the background to get your listeners watching. You're going to have some smooth jazz in the background, and then you're going to get DMCA. Not only
Do we want to talk about the
You're
Raps
gonna
and
get
Fire
flagged
incident in the
for
tabletop?
having background music in your game.
That's right.
Yeah, so
You can't even
we
have
were playing.
you can't play GTA. You can't do any of that. You have to turn your sound off when you're playing a video game.
No, but here's how crazy it gets. We were playing Tabletop Simulator a week or two ago, and we were playing, I think it was Epic Spell Wars, the Battle Wizards,
Indeed.
and we threw down the tablet device in the Tabletop Sim, which allows us to bring up a YouTube, stream basically, and play the music from the stream. So within Tabletop Simulator, we brought up Rhapsody of Fire, one of their albums, from YouTube. So we're listening to music on YouTube while recording this video, which we then put up on YouTube and got flagged for copyright infringement.
That's right. And then it took
Do
me
not
like
anger the Viacom gods.
then it took YouTube like 8 hours to scrub the audio, just that track of the audio out of our video. It was saved, but it was a
Because
hassle.
we were streaming music in our video that was being streamed from. It was some Inception level craziness. So I'm just like, I can't honestly believe how bad it's gotten.
Yes. Because you and I can go and type that song into YouTube and listen to it on our computer for free. But if we listen to it in the game on YouTube, it gets DMCA'd.
No, we're technically rebroadcasting it.
Oh, sorry, read broadcasting. Listen, they're gonna have to do some serious like rejiggering of like their fucking policy with this shit because this YouTube gaming thing. If they keep it this is gonna be like remember when they turned it on Twitch for like a weekend and like a bajillion videos got flagged.
Oh, it was so much backlash.
This is what's
I
gonna happen on
remember that.
YouTube, except 100 times worse because their policies are 100 times more ironclad.
So that aside, YouTube's got some good things going for it. I mean, they are obviously supporting up to resolution. I think they're supporting up to 8K now. 4K they've had for a while. Definitely 1080, 60 frames per second. So if YouTube jumps into this game and they allow good high bitrate video, like if they let us go up to like 9 megabits per second, where 4K becomes possible, and not just 4K, but the more available resolutions like 1440p, like I'm on board instantly. I will go to YouTube and they're my fucking streaming service from here on out. Because Twitch and Hitbox and your little 3.5 megabits per second streaming cap is fucking bullshit.
Maybe they should have
Yes, it
downscaling.
is.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have a downscaling system for non-partner.
Don't want to downscale.
Channel.
I render at 1440p. I should be able to stream at 1440p and not have to try to compress that into a little narrow 3.5 megabit stream.
I'm saying you could stream at 1440p, but if somebody can't handle your 1440p stream, then
I
they
don't
could
want
go
the
to
poor
it.
people watching my stream.
Audience is like, fuck the peasants. I do not want
Fuck
you
the
watching my stream. Get the fuck out of my
I don't want you
apartment.
watching my stream on your little Amazon Fire HD thing that can't watch my stream.
Get off my YouTube channel, underlings. You're not worthy.
No, I was just going straight for the big buck contributors.
That's right.
I don't.
He only wants people with like 6 monitor setups and SLI Titans
right.
watching his stream.
Well, I don't think that's going to attract new people into their service, but I think they need something like that.
No, we talked
downscaling.
about it. The average U.S. broadband connection is up to like almost 9 megabits per second now. Keeping the streams at 3.5 megabits per second is just stupid.
Which isn't really broadband by technical definition now either. If you remember the Title II stuff that was going on a few months ago.
I'm just saying, the average internet user
Well, I mean, the average
has
is
an
50%.
9 megabit connection.
What about the other 50%?
I don't care about them.
He clearly doesn't.
So when do we exterminate
them.
the poor people?
I'm working on
And
it.
this is what we're getting to, right?
As soon as Naughtius Topius takes off.
No, I mean there should be an option to switch between the two.
Sadly, mankind
Afterward.
to realize my genius.
Having a quality slider. Remember when Twitch used to have that shit?
I don't. Did they?
I do.
They had
do.
that?
They have it for partners.
Ah.
Oh, okay. I thought they got
That's
rid
what
of
I'm
it.
saying.
We're
They
not-
should just
we're not good
allow
enough.
everyone to be able to downscale. I know it uses a lot more bandwidth, but if you want to be a competitor, that's one way to compete.
So.
We would solve all
Anyway,
the
I
issues.
think we can all agree YouTube is very serious competition for Hitbox and Twitch. And
Oh,
that's a
yeah.
good thing.
There-
They've got
there is-
the infrastructure, they've got the backbones, and they've got the monetization systems in place that could be attractive to a lot of top viewer streamers on those two services.
Yeah, they're the only big name out there right now that has the potential to overcome eventually what Twitch has established, and clearly Hitbox is not. Is going to go from second straight down to third place, and they're going to be even farther behind, unless something significantly changes with their service, which I doubt it. Anyway.
There's one key point to remember, though, before we move on, is
Yeah.
that as with any type of competition and big following and exodus, you got to get the viewers to follow too. Some people have that routine, and you might lose viewers in the transition. So there's always that thing that the actual streamers have to be concerned about. Switching platforms is, am I going to retain my viewer base? Am I going to lose it? Am I going to gain more? It's especially for those guys that make their living doing that, right? It's kind of like a business decision at that point.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with YouTube. They have people who aren't streamers that just do videos. Like I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I think PewDiePie's one. Well, Jim Sterling uses Hitbox. So, I mean, if they made a really good service, those people who make those videos would just switch over. And
Oh, yeah, you're talking about like the Robaz and people like that. Robaz, King of Sweden?
Yeah. I mean, they don't really stream, and maybe they'll go ahead and do that with the YouTube gaming thing.
I don't know. I think you'd be hard pressed to get people to switch services unless YouTube makes some really good policies. You know, again, fixing the DMCA problem. You know, making it as accessible as Twitch to those Twitch people, making it easy to transition over, because viewers is obviously a big deal. And right now there is a divide between YouTubers and Twitch streamers. Like we consider them separate groups, even though they really do similar things. One does live stuff, one does pre-recorded stuff, but they both spend a lot of time in front of the camera.
Sadly, I don't think policies or features have anything to do with how many viewers they're going to get. I mean,
no, but it'll be a consideration for them to switch if they want to switch.
Their brand is big, and they're able to compete with Twitch because of their brand.
Yeah, it's hard for me to disagree with that. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so the big news that came out about literally 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, maybe after the last podcast, Steam is now allowing, get this, they're allowing refund. They have a refund policy that allows you to return any game that you have purchased within 14 days, as long as you have played less than 2 hours of the game. Now, on paper, this seems like an absolutely fantastic policy. It's very pro-consumer. I don't see anything wrong with it as it stands, but there's got to be some issues. And are there any that come to mind to you guys? Because I can think of a few.
The most important issue I've seen raised for this is that people they talked about review. People have talked about review bombing and people just playing short games, having issues. But you know, those are issues. But the biggest issue I think I've heard is that people are going to go ahead and abuse this system to get trading cards and then sell those trading cards, so they get profit and they make their money back on refunds.
That's an interesting one. I didn't think about Steam trading cards. But most of them are pennies. You know what I mean? They're not that rare. I guess some of them are.
Yeah, but I mean, you do this enough. Now,
but it's worth mentioning. Yeah, there is worth mentioning that the refund is not an automated process. There is some involved, and in that review process, they are working to identify people who are abusing these systems to either play short games and beat them real quick and then return them, or people who are looking to like you said, monetize trading cards and whatnot. And those people whom they deem are abusing the refund system will just be denied refunds.
I think that's fair. If you're abusing anything, especially money, back charging, stuff like that takes them a lot of work to have to do that. They have a customer. Oh my God, Steam has to use their customer service department. I know that's a shock, right? But the short game thing is easy to fix. I mean, all you got to do is anytime you submit a game to Steam, you just got to submit what your end game achievement is, and if you have that achievement unlocked, you can't refund the game. I mean, it should be the third add on to this policy.
Yes.
14 days of purchase within 2 hours, and you have the end game achievement done.
That's what people suggested they do.
Makes sense.
But they haven't. They're Steam, so they're not very good at curating shit. So I'm not.
I wonder how many developers are gonna try and sneak in that endgame achievement without it not actually being the end of the game. If they would actually get away with something like that.
Well, I don't know. I think that developers should be honest to that at the very least. I don't think that's a lot to ask for. At the same time, you don't really want them padding their game so much to get it up to 2 hours worth of content either. Like, that seems a little crazy to me. So, I mean, this is going to take a little more oversight, I think, than Steam initially has, although the policies at first glance seems pretty solid.
So, you can look at this. There's two ways to go on this, though, and here's my biggest fear. That this may impact, development of games where they are going to damn well make sure that the first 2 hours of that game are just pristine and so highly polished that you're going to play those 2 hours, and then the later parts of the game may suffer to that. And I'm trying to and thinking of games like that before. Age of Conan. Age of Conan was an MMORPG.
Oh no.
It had a
Oh, God.
a very engaging, first like 20 hours or so, and then the game was just crap after that. Like you could tell their entire purpose.
I wouldn't go say it's crap after that. I mean, I
It was
enjoyed
crap.
Age of Conan. No, it wasn't.
Okay, but you cannot argue that the first 20 hours of the game were on a level of
Yeah.
polish and development so different than the rest of the game.
Well, not in terms of bugs. I mean, the first 20 hours still had tons of bugs, just like the rest of the game did. But there's a lot of unfinished content in the at the end of the game, and there was a lot of I think the main thing was there wasn't as much voice acting. As in there's basically none
So,
after
no, I
20
agree.
hours.
I'm not saying the rest of the game was crap. I'm just saying that the level of development and polish was vastly different. Okay, and you can kind of clearly see that they were, knowing that your average MMO player is probably not going to burn through that in their first month. So they were really banking on getting that next month subscription. I'm kind of worried that we may start to see that come again.
Now, see, to me, it's just going to increase the quality of games in general. These people who release poor quality greenlight games that we've been seeing over and over. I mean, just look at Jim Sterling's channel; he covers them all the time. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to be able to do this anymore because they're just going to get all their purchases are going to be refunded.
Yeah, but I mean, if they're gonna start doing that 2 hour shit, I mean, their name is on their fucking game. People are just gonna go, no, I'm not gonna play your fucking game again.
Well, eventually people will wise up to it, but it is right now we're going to see what the developers are going to decide to do, whether they're going to be padding their game, whether they're going to be making the first couple hours amazing. Like we don't know exactly.
But then you've got the complete opposite of the spectrum, where I was sitting here thinking about it, like what games would people have missed out on if they had this refund system available? And one that instantly came to mind was Spec Ops: The Line, where if you've ever played Spec Ops: The Line, you really need to go do it. But you need to be forewarned that the first hour or two, it's going to seem like a very kind of cookie-cutter third-person shooter. But after that, the game just explodes into this mad, twisting, personal introspective adventure. And if you play the first hour of it, you're going to say this is just a generic third-person shooter. And so I guess you could say the onus is on the developers to ensure that that's not the experience you have. But I gotta say, a lot of people who originally purchased like Spec Ops when it came out, if this refund system had been available, probably would have returned it.
Listen, I don't think this policy, and I know that you're making the comment in terms of responding to this, but I don't think this policy should have anything to do with dictating what the onus for a developer is in making a good game. That's all they ever have to do is make a good game. If your game is shit and doesn't sell, then fuck you. You deserve to fail. Make a shit game.
But there's been a lot of deception on that with Greenlight, especially. So
of course,
now they're going to be held more accountable. People aren't going to fall into the trap of purchasing a bad game. And it's gonna be good for people who develop good games, in my opinion, because people are going to be more willing to try it if they could just refund the game if they didn't like it.
Listen, what you're getting is a paid demo system. All right, what it comes down to here. You can refund your money if you don't like the demo.
Force the small developers maybe to move into higher replayability, even though if the game is short, increasing the replayability, like with Luftwassers.
Another good theory.
Yeah, that's what called.
Yeah, overall, it's a good system. And, the small developers aside, even big developers aside, I mean, you go look at Electronic Arts with Origin. They decided this was a system they wanted to have about a year ago on Origin. They wanted a return policy. They were I think they were the first to do it. And they still have it. So it's obviously worked out for their betterment.
And this one is better than theirs.
Rename the system to the Ubisoft accountability system.
Oh, maybe. But, it's going to give you the idea of whether the game is buggy or doesn't work, like to return it. But this system is actually better than Origin. Isn't Origin's like 7 days, something like that? 7-day policy.
7 days if you've never opened it. If you've launched it, then I think it's 24 hours.
Yeah, 24 hours after playing it, you can return it.
All right. Anyway, So in other Steam news, Steam finally decided on, they've had the final design for their Steam controller that's going to accompany the Steam machines that are coming out in November, which we're not going to talk about tonight. But they put out a trailer for their controller. There's literally a trailer for a controller.
Yeah, they've been working on this thing for a while now, and it's been kind of promised. When it first came out, it had two capacitive like touch pads with haptic feedback and an LCD touchscreen in the middle. And this thing's gone through a lot of development to get where it is now.
This is, I think, the third design of it in total. Like, we used to cover this when we did Impact Press a couple of years back, and I loved this topic. And I saw the first two, and when I see this one, this is new and interesting, and it looks like it's gonna work with most games, but again, it's not gonna replace a mouse and keyboard, like, in terms of usability.
The boombox controller?
Yes, the boombox looking controller.
It doesn't look like anything I would want to use.
I'm sure it takes a little getting used to that, whole touchpad, D-pad thing. I'm sure that's not like out of the box you're going to get it.
Yeah, but here's the funny thing. For even those of us who are, hardcore PC gaming fans, we probably still own a controller for, games where it just makes sense. Games where you want, an analog stick, but maybe you don't want to go in for the full like joystick and, hands-on throttle and stick experience. They work really well in like the Grand Theft Auto games for the driving segments. There's
any third-person game.
Any third-person game, right?
Yeah, I play Witcher on my PC.
Fighting games, people don't want to use joystick.
No, you definitely don't want to use
side-scroll platformers.
And the great thing about PC is you have the option of using an Xbox style or a PlayStation style or some other weird style that a third party might make. So you're not locked into the feel that you have to have with a PlayStation pad. It's a great thing. But Microsoft was not to be outdone here. They once this trailer hit, they were like, "Oh my God, it's a trailer for a controller. Why didn't we think of that?" They're putting out a wireless adapter for their Xbox One controller so that it works with PC because they're adding that whole like stream your games from your Xbox to your PC thing. So now it's going to require Windows 10, but you're going to be able to use your Xbox One controller on your PC. Finally.
Yeah, it's exactly what you expect. It's a no-frills, little black rectangular dongle. It's going to plug into a USB port. It's going to allow you to use your Xbox One controller. I mean, I already have an Xbox One controller. I rather enjoy it for the games that it applies to. Going to be a hard sell. Do I want to buy this Steam controller or buy the wireless dongle? Don't know.
Why would you want to buy that Steam? I don't know. The Steam controller doesn't look like it's a very good controller.
I'll probably buy it. Just to try it.
You guys are just PC fanboys.
Just to try it, like, honestly.
Steam.
I want to see a touchpad, D-pad. That may be cool, but it may.
That's what it is. Anyway, so that's Steam. Steam's doing all right. They're going to be giving people money back. They're going to do just fine. Desura, on the other hand, who we brought up last podcast because they were one of the companies that was like, we're going to sell hatred. We don't give a shit. They're not doing so well. In fact, they have had a lot of difficulty playing developers and paying developers their money. Developers who have their indie games and probably live, for the most part, paycheck to paycheck, relying on money from their game sales. Desura hasn't paid people in some time, and they actually just filed for bankruptcy. So I never bought a game in Desura. I don't know if you guys did, but this is like watching one of those digital distributors die because they're getting squeezed out, I guess.
But their games are DRM free, so it doesn't matter. You can just go ahead and make backup installs of them, and you're fine. Right,
which is what they're telling everyone to do. This is kind of a PSA more really than a news topic. But yeah, if you're on Desura and you haven't heard, they are going to bankrupt. You should go back up all your games ASAP. So yeah,
pour one out for Desura.
So more news on Amazon. So Amazon is we've known for a little bit while they've been buying up small game companies, right? What was the most recent one that they bought? Shit, I can't remember the name of them now.
I can't either.
But they're going into the whole in-house PC game development. They are hiring people. What do we have here? Gameplay and software engineers to create PC games. They are looking to get people out. They're looking to get some experienced people, maybe as well as some newbies in there.
I think they have a lot of experienced people already. I mean, they're obviously wanting experienced developers to fill out the vacant spots, but they've got developers who've worked on games like Half-Life, Portal, System Shock 2. I mean, these are all like AAA, highly well-reviewed, received games, classics. Yeah.
So they're.
I don't know if it's the I don't know who they are that worked on them, but that's what they're claiming. They've got a lot of people, a lot of talent.
Yeah, they put
They're
up some.
obviously very serious about this.
They put some big titles up that they said we have people that worked on Half-Life 2, Left 4 Dead, Portal, Gears of War, BioShock, Halo.
There's
Yeah, these
Last
are
of Us.
big games.
Last of Us, Naughty Dog.
So now they're partnering with GameFly for game streaming. They own Twitch for game streaming, and now they're going to try to make their own PC games in house. And they have Amazon Fire TV to play games on.
They're
Amazon's
probably working on a VR headset.
probably.
Isn't everybody is?
You beat me to it. Yes. Or they're going to partner with
CP is
somebody.
born.
Or they're
So
going to
they're
partner
like-
with somebody.
They're taking like the opposite of Valve's approach, where they start as like a kind of tech company, and now they're going into PC gaming.
Yeah, Valve in reverse, basically.
So this is an interesting move. It'll be weird in like 3 or 4 years to see game published by Amazon. Maybe it'll even be available on Steam, but chances are they're gonna make most of their stuff for their own proprietary hardware to push that in some way.
Yeah, I have a sneaky suspicion they'll probably brand their publishing and game development differently.
Amazon's been pretty busy in the media realm. I mean, they have the Amazon TV network, which is like the Netflix alternative. I forget what it's called. Amazon Instant Video, I think it's called. Which doesn't have a good selection of movies. I was just looking through it today, but they have their own original television shows. Like Transparent is a really good one.
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime TV or whatever it's called. But
What's
This is
their little
Amazon
handheld?
Prime.
Fire or something? Firewalker?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Amazon Fire.
Oh, yeah.
it's like their
It's a
their
TV.
TV thing. Yeah. So yeah, Amazon's got their fingers in a lot of cake right now. A lot of different recipes over there. So curious to see where they're going to end up in a couple of years.
Well, unlike Google, none of their shit's really doing poorly.
Yeah, it's true. Everyone shops on Amazon. It's like the first place you go to find anything, or at the very least, you use it for reviews on like items and stuff before you buy them. All right, so we got a couple more minutes to talk about news. So NBA 2K16 is going to get an original story from writer and director Mr. Spike Lee.
Right.
Are we excited about this, gentlemen?
You know what? I think we are.
We're getting an NBA game with a story in it. Like, holy shit.
Now,
Based around player
So-
named Frequency Vibrations. Not even shitting you on that one, guys.
so Papa J and I were in Steam when this story broke, and we were kind of laughing about it. But then we kind of like sat back and thought about it for a bit, and we're like, God, all the sports games out there are very like simulation oriented. You've got the Madden franchise and the NBA franchise, obviously, and they're all just trying to recreate the sport as realistically as possible with the real league rosters and stats and everything. And we're like, but they're missing the fun. And think about it. Like you think about like the great sports stories out there, like the 1982 like Miracle on Ice, and you think of like great sports movies like Rudy and Moneyball, and like why can't there be room for story in these games? Why does it have to be about simulating some yearly season down to every game played that's going to be played in the actual season? Why can't somebody take some creative direction, get some narrative going, and make something fun?
I'm going to blame
So-
HBO for this. And do you
No,
know
no,
why? HBO does a series every year called 24. And what it does is it follows a team throughout their season or part of their season leading up to some big event. And it covers just the drama that goes on in the locker room and the shit
And they're
that
phenomenal.
they're masterfully done. And they just did the Atlanta Falcons this past season for the NFL. They did the Rangers in They did Rangers and Flyers a couple years up to the Winter Classic. Like these are a fantastic series, and like it really shows you a side of the game that like a lot of players, a lot of people really love to watch.
So my two favorite sports games that aren't racing games are NBA Jam and NFL Blitz. Both are
Right.
both don't use the all right. It's Blitz game on the
The
Dreamcast.
simulation model, yeah. Your games
Yeah,
that
they
vary
don't
from
use
the
that. They
simulation
don't
model.
use that model. They just kind of go wacky, ridiculous. Like NBA Jam, you shoot the ball on fire and you can play as aliens and make your own character. There's big head mode and just ridiculous. And And NFL Blitz is kind of similar. I don't remember if it's called NFL. It was called something Blitz.
Yeah.
My
NHL
issue
Blitz.
my issue with this whole
Mhm.
thing would only be like, the replayability of it. Like, will the movie be the same every single time you play through it? Does it have any replay value to this like particular element? I mean, to bring a big name like Spike Lee on board to do an NBA movie within your video game, obviously this is not a small investment for them. Like, it's got to have multiple threads to it. It's got to be some choice based options in there. I'm not saying it's turning into a fucking RPG, but
No, I'm thinking honestly, it's more like you're taking a sports simulation game and you're turning it into like a sports adventure game, and that's I don't know. I'd play it.
it could work.
I'm interested.
But the big issue is, has any of these big name celebrity directors and things like that coming on to do video game projects ever succeeded? Because as far as I know, like Steven Spielberg has tried before and things like that, and their games have pretty much been big flops. I mean,
I can't think of any offhand that have been like
they're
received
not
critical
video
acclaim
game
or anything.
designers. They're not video game writers. There's a difference when you're writing a video game than a movie. So
Absolutely.
unless
Yeah,
you're
I mean,
trying to
they're-
do Order 1886.
The whole thing with them is writing their story, and there's nothing wrong with that in a single player. But the thing is, they're bringing in Spike Lee to do this, and it's an E-rated game. So, I mean, how real is he going to get before he just starts crossing the line with them, going, "No, you can't put that in this game. It's E-rated."
I don't know. It's interesting. I think Spike Lee is a huge basketball fan.
Because there's definitely going to be racism
He's a
involved.
New Yorker. I think and
He's a huge Knicks fan. Yes.
he's a huge Knicks fan. He knows the game. He knows a lot of the players. So I mean, God, if you got to pick anybody, why not Spike Lee?
Yeah, I
Because
agree.
he's not a video game writer. He's
Yeah,
not.
but they're just not. I don't think they're going to give him the freedom to, do what he can do.
No,
write
and
story.
George R. R. Martin's not a screenplay writer, but yet they've managed to transpose his books into a successful series.
Well, books have been transposed into successful series and movies.
Right, so you're really not
But
asking
that
much. You're
doesn't-
asking Spike Lee to create a story and maybe
Well,
a,
video
a
games are vastly
screenplay and
different,
get it
in my
adapted
opinion.
into a video game.
I don't disagree.
With a novel, you're trying to you're trying to sell a story. With a video game, you have to have interactivity, and they're just vastly different than
No,
movies and television.
novels and video games are worlds apart, as we've seen time and time again. But
Hmm.
screenplays and video games, not so much.
I disagree.
Time will tell, gentlemen. I think it's gonna be like everything else.
No-
Agree or
there's no
disagree
way-
then.
10% of it's good, 90% of it's shit, and that's always how it's gonna be. We're gonna have to see how this goes. I mean, this is a new thing that if this makes it big, we're gonna see this as a trend, right, in the industry. If it
I can
sucks,
see
no one's
this
gonna do it ever
working-
again.
I can see this working with easily with baseball games and hockey games, and hell, I'm interested. Like you might just see me streaming my playthrough of playing Frequency Vibrations as he makes his way into the NBA. Who knows? I don't even like basketball, but the idea is interesting to me.
Well, that says a lot for someone who doesn't even care about the sport to like pick up a game like this, and play through it. Oh. Anyway, do you guys? I have two questions. Number one, do any of you guys like GameStop?
No.
No.
Okay. Number two, do any of you guys like ThinkGeek?
What is that?
Okay, ThinkGeek is like the nerd's haven for like awesome T-shirts and gadgets and silly shit that you really don't fucking need, but you think you want when you look at it on the internet.
I don't like ThinkGeek because they're way too expensive. And
They are
I never
expensive.
I never feel like buying anything on there because they're just way overpriced.
Basically, like half of my T-shirt collection is from ThinkGeek, because I always buy their shit when it's on sale or whatever, like 2 for $20. Usually their T-shirts are like
Which
$30,
is still
whatever.
too expensive.
Well, whatever. If you're cheap, you don't like cool T-shirts, whatever. But I like my Star Wars T-shirts and like my Star Trek T-shirts and my silly T-shirts with shit on
But you
them.
have a Star Trek Enterprise pizza cutter too.
No, but I do have lightsaber candle
You don't
holders.
own one?
I have lightsaber candle holders, and I have
Alright,
Death Star.
fair,
Lightsaber
fair.
chopsticks.
Death Star ice cube makers. It makes giant spheres that look like Death Stars.
Those are great for punch bowls.
Yes.
I'm
So
not talking about wussy fucking punch.
all this shit comes off of ThinkGeek. The reason I asked you is because ThinkGeek and GameStop are now the same company. Because GameStop bought ThinkGeek for $140 million this past week. So now every time you buy something on ThinkGeek, you are actually paying GameStop. Now we've seen GameStop diversifying their portfolio, so to speak, over the past 3 or 4 years quite a bit. They got into the mobile phone market. Clearly that did not work out for them. They were buying iPods and all that shit.
Streaming market.
Getting into the stream market, but now they're like, fuck it, we're just gonna get into the swag market. Like we're just gonna buy like ThinkGeek because every nerd gamer on the internet pretty much shops there. Like 9 out of 10 of them. Surprised you guys don't. I do all the time.
I think 9 out of 10 is a bit of an exaggeration.
Really nerdy people shop on ThinkGeek. Believe me here.
No.
I'm sorry that you spend too much time in front of your PlayStation. You should go to ThinkGeek and see what their stuff is all about.
But I think this is a good move for GameStop.
Yeah, it's an interesting play. They're gonna sell stuff on ThinkGeek. Maybe
You'll see ThinkGeek's shit and merchandise in her store, which I think is kind of cool. So I mean, it's a good move. It's certainly better than what they've been doing lately.
I think my relationship with ThinkGeek kind of fell out of favor, like with the whole taking off like the Big Bang Theory and turning geek into cool. I'm just like, well, wait a minute here.
Yeah, they did a lot of that. I mean, they make things mainstream. Is what they do. They give you a T-shirt, like the rock paper scissors lizard Spock that was on an episode of Big Bang. I own that T-shirt.
Yep.
Someone gifted it to me, not because I like the show that much. But stuff like that, like quips that happen in a TV show, people buy them out. People be like, "I'd wear that on a T-shirt." That's what they have. Like they provide a service that people clearly like.
And Minecraft.
And oh man, tons of Minecraft stuff, tons of Star Wars stuff. So Disney's got their fingers in it now. Mojang, Microsoft, like they have a lot of stuff.
They're more like mainstream.
God, how many people are running around with Bazinga on their chest?
They're definitely mainstream, and that's kind of the point I'm trying to. I'm not like a hipster. I'm like, I used to shop at ThinkGeek, but they went mainstream. But ThinkGeek, like 5 years ago, used to be much more intimate. Like you'd stop by ThinkGeek like 2 or 3 times a week to see what was new, and now it's like there's like 30 new things daily. It's like there's so much stuff going through it. It lost that kind of like intimate like geek relationship we had.
Yeah, like I remember in college I had a Yoda USB thumb drive, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's awesome!" Like because like I was one of the few people that had actually owned something cool like that. Now everybody has something cool like that. So but whatever. ThinkGeek, judgments aside, I think the AI is right. Having their stuff in GameStops is gonna diversify GameStop's portfolio a bit more. They're gonna start selling some T-shirts and hats and stuff like that are popular. Halo T-shirts, I'm sure, are gonna be popular. Every time a new video game comes out, they're gonna bring all that stuff into the store, and you're gonna want to buy that. I'm sure there's gonna be Fallout T-shirts. Once that hits, assuming Bethesda sells them on ThinkGeek, because I know they have their own store.
A plethora of War Never Changes T-shirts.
Yes, people will buy them. They'll buy Fallout 4, the $300 collector's edition, and the $60 fucking Fallout 4 T-shirt. And while GameStop was looking to make new business acquisitions, they also participated in the Make-A-Wish Foundation drive in May last year, and they actually recorded a record $1.2 million in donations and funding. So good on GameStop for actually doing something positive in the news. We thought it was worth covering. I think of every podcast that we've ever mentioned GameStop up to this point, it's been something negative. Like, what the fuck GameStop doing? Pre-order culture, blah, 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 blah. Ridiculous APR credit cards, yada, yada, yada. I mean, that's the stuff we've covered.
The story was actually bigger when I originally thought that they were buying ThinkGeek's parent company, which also owned like Slashdot and some other high-profile sites.
They're just buying the ThinkGeek.
Yeah, so apparently they sold off Slashdot and SourceForge a few years back, and ThinkGeek is basically the last thing to go.
All right, so we should be able to finish up this section. So I think this is an important topic to talk about because MOBAs are huge. Now, if any of you guys are into the MOBA, two MOBAs are huge.
3 MOBAs now.
3 now, but really 2 are the actual MOBAs and 1 is the kiddie pool of MOBAs.
And 1 will be huge later on too.
Possibly. Now, I think the guys over at let me just put down that Infinite Crisis has completely shut down. And they've decided to, and this was a MOBA that was coming out and had like the DC characters and all that stuff, and it's shutting down, and they're giving refunds for anybody who bought the starter pack or the elite pack. So if you're listening to this and you were an Infinite Crisis person, you didn't get that email yet, go and get your refund. You deserve it, because the game is not coming out ever. They're not even going to bother. And this isn't the first MOBA to do this. Dawngate shut down last year, like in the middle of like beta, I think it was. Like they were just like, fuck, we're not making this anymore. And this says a lot about game companies at recognizing when like something is just a lost cause. I think.
Indeed.
Right?
They could have easily just taken a bunch of people's money, made a shitty product that nobody was going to play, and just wasted a lot of time and money. They chose not to do that.
But I mean, you could have. They should never made a MOBA. especially one that's basically a clone of the League style game.
Well, I mean, aside from
The
you know
Dota.
Heroes of the Storm, they're LoL and Dota. I mean, are so similar to each other. Like they're almost considered like the same game, right, with different characters in them. And like
Mhm.
they're so saturated in the market, like it's very hard for another MOBA to sort of push in, right? Unless you've got a big name behind it, like Blizzard.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really
EA
have
couldn't
to
do it.
innovate. There's the player base is polarized into what it wants. You know, either League of Legends, Smite,
Yeah, the
or
innovate
Dota.
or be Blizzard.
Something has to pull that player base away from that.
It's
So
gonna
if you're
be
not doing something weird like how Smite had like a third person angle, then it's just not gonna happen.
Even Smite's not doing that great. I mean, they're doing all right. They're hanging in there, but
yeah, they're doing okay. They're not gonna get they
No,
don't get
it's
the same
just an
exposure as
example
League.
of something different. The only reason Hero of the Storm is surviving because Blizzard makes fucking anything happen.
Sure do. They're like, we're gonna put out this free to play card game. We've never done this before, and it works, and people love it, and they make a bajillion. It prints money basically. It's like the biggest game that they had last year. It was Game of the Year contender in so many sites. I don't know why, but it was. For a game that has no fucking built-in chat, it makes no sense. But
Is Gwent gonna get it this year?
nah, yeah, I don't think so. Gwent also free to
People
play.
love their fucking Gwent, man.
Gwent free to play with purchase of larger video game.
It's
But
frightening.
yes. So good on these guys over there. I forget who publishes Infinite Crisis, but they've decided that it's just not going to happen. We're not going to bother pursuing this, and I think that's probably the best thing that they could do, for everybody is to give out refunds. Okay, so our last and final news topic. I'm sorry, Seaver. You want to say that?
No, I was just gonna say DC Universe pretty cursed when it comes to games.
Yeah, it's true. All right, topic. We'll try to make this brief, 3 minutes maybe. Naughties, why don't you take us into this new VR headset that just came out that we just heard about on Thursday?
Yeah, just Thursday. It just kind of dropped last night. So there is a company called Starbreeze. They're tapping in as player 3 into the whole PC VR headset marketplace. Their headset's going to be a little bit different than everything you've seen from Oculus and Valve's HTC headset and even like the Sony Morpheus. They are going for the widescreen panoramic approach. They're looking for a 5K viewing field, which will fill the entire primary field and your peripheral vision. So they're basically using two high resolution cell phone displays, two 2560 by 1440 displays at 90 hertz refresh rate, and this thing looks pretty amazing.
Sounds pretty powerful too.
So if you in the last podcast you've heard me kind of criticize the Oculus and Valve HTC going, you know what, the resolution just isn't there, and I understand that they're having to build these things to accommodate the average PC and what they're running, which is basically they're factoring in the average PC gamer is going to have at least like a GeForce 970 by the time this thing comes out. So these guys are taking the high-end approach. They're going, you're going to need a freaking monster of a game system to run this, but God, if you have it, it's going to look amazing.
Well, I'm glad that option's there because
Yep, there's your high-end option.
people may get bored of playing Flower 2.
I mean, I was really disappointed when I saw the actual resolutions of the Valve and the Oculus, retail model. So I was like, that's just not high enough. I have the DK2, I know what its resolution is, and they're just not going high enough.
I wonder if they're going to
They're
use
going high enough.
OLEDs with the screens.
I'm glad that there is
Would
more
imagine.
competition in this market.
I think these are the Samsung Note 5 displays. Those are the 2560 by
let's
1440
be realistic
displays.
though. It's
Got
not
two
really
phablets in it.
super-
Well, they've also got some launch partners on board though. There's a Walking Dead game that a lot of people are looking forward to, and that's their launch partner.
So does this game not have support for regular VR headsets, like the Oculus? This
We'll see.
headset needs special software to make games because that's not going to work.
They all need special software.
Oculus is going to release at least 2 years prior to it, so
Gonna have a head start, so we'll see how this goes.
I don't know. These guys are
It
E3
won't.
this year, so
Cool. So maybe we'll hear some more about them in the upcoming week. Yeah, very excited. More VR stuff is good because there's going to be a clear winner at some point, and if there isn't, there'll be two clear winners, and that's better than one. Give people
it's
options.
going to be the Oculus. So I mean,
Well, with
it's pretty
Facebook
much a
backing them,
given.
they have all the money in the world to throw around.
and they're going to be first, which is the most important thing.
No, Valve's going to be first. Oculus isn't coming out until next year. Valve's coming out in winter.
Is it really?
It is.
I just want to.
I think it still is, yeah.
That's Valve time, so we don't know if that's how it'll actually come out then.
It's coming out alongside Half-Life 3, don't worry about it. But anyway, the last little bit of news, for anyone who gives a shit, again, it's kind of harkens back to the whole GameStop thing, or if you're a parent, you buy strategy guides for your kids, you probably never bother reading the label. But there were two big strategy guide companies out there, Prima and Brady Guides, and they have now decided to merge into one for whatever fucking reason that matters. It doesn't really matter to me, because I don't buy strategy guides, but now you don't have to choose between the shitty Prima guide or the shitty Brady guide. Now you can get the one guide, whatever they decided to rename themselves.
So people still buy strategy guides? I mean,
listen, apparently,
this thing called the internet.
Well, clearly, when a merger like this happens, it means that the market must be suffering a little bit due to the division, right? And they want to pool the money together, the capital together. So I'm sure that strategy guys will die eventually.
That's not their sell point anymore. They kind of shifted away from strategy guide. Yeah, it's in there, but I mean, their major selling point is interviews with people and artwork. People will buy it just for that.
Yeah, the art books and shit.
It's just a strategy guide, and no one was buying that, and I think they realize it.
Good on them, because that would be like having Nintendo Power subscription, which doesn't exist anymore for a good reason. Okay, so that was about an hour. We have to talk about, obviously, the big shit coming out this week is the E3, and it rolls out tonight with Bethesda in a couple hours. So, actually, yeah, a little less than a couple hours. So let's talk right about the big leaks and news that we heard this past week.
I think we should just mention first that this is like the first E3 where they just where every company just decided to just blow their load and just release everything early.
It's
Prematurely ejaculate.
It is crazy how many. This is like crazy phenomenon.
Cannot contain this. We must release early.
And I don't get it. Like, is everyone trying? I think this is the strategy that I think they're trying to do. They're all blowing their load, so that the one huge fucking announcement emerges, and we don't know, and so that there's a clear E3 winner. Because at this point, I don't know what it's going to be. Especially, I thought it was going to be out of Bethesda's press conference, but clearly, it's not anymore because they've already leaked so much stuff now and literally just released things. Like, it's an interesting strategy, though, right? Because it is the first time they've done this.
I personally think they were doing it because they're afraid. They're afraid that there's going to be that news is going to eclipse their news, so they just decided to release it early so they get some press. But now everyone's doing it, so it's like it's even less of a good strategy.
Yeah, I mean the conference gauntlet.
Bethesda broke E3.
The conference gauntlet always sort of to me seemed like watching like WWF old school Royal Rumbles. I don't know if they still do that. Where there's just like 40 wrestlers in the ring, and you're just like you can't even watch what the fuck is going on. Have you guys ever seen that when you were kids? You ever watched like fake wrestling? It's just mayhem. Like, you have no idea what's going on. And then at the end, it's like three guys still standing, and you're like, oh, okay, these three guys are the ones I need to care about.
But that makes it fun.
Yeah, I know. It's fun and entertaining. It's just, that's what the conference gauntlet always looks like to me. It's like, oh, here's our dick. Oh, here's our bigger dick. Oh, here's our massive dick. Like, but who really has the bigger dick?
For the press I mean, people aren't going to watch this shit if the big stuff they're looking forward to is already announced. They may come back and look at some news, but a lot of people will tune into the press conferences because they don't know what the fuck's happening.
They kicked consumers out of E3 years ago, right? And they're like, oh, this is for like people in the industry, whatever. But now this year, by doing this, they made it very consumer driven. Like the news sites don't really have anything new to report. Like we already know everything that's going to happen at E3. With a few exceptions here and there, right?
So do we think we'll get any new announcements in E3?
I think there's some.
Tabletop yesterday, you came back in the channel after we finished Tabletop, and you had something important to announce, Gray.
I did. Okay, so you had shown me that Sony had this hype video. Square. I'm sorry. Square Enix had put out a hype video, and the hype video was like it told you a couple things that we knew were coming out, and then it had like these bleeps through it where they were clearly not announcing it. They're like, well, we have something to watch. Please be excited or whatever.
Yeah, typical Square Enix.
It's typical Square Enix bullshit. And then, but over the 3-minute video, they were playing a remix of Frog's theme from Chrono Trigger, and I'm like, wait a second. And you're just listening to the music because it's in the background, and you're like, wait a second, Chrono Trigger game? Are they going to release a Chrono Trigger? If Square Enix announces a Chrono Trigger game at their press conference, people are the entire auditorium will jizz at the same time. That's what will
Do you
happen.
think
I
this would
guarantee
be
it.
the biggest news in this E3?
I think it would be the biggest news in E3. Yes, if
They
they were
announced
like
a new Chrono
original
Trigger, right?
Chrono Trigger. Yes, and Chrono Trigger 2, like the real Chrono Trigger.
When
A
in
Chrono
doubt,
Cross, not an HD
nostalgia.
remix, not like another iOS port or whatever the fuck. I think they need
Yeah, it's
an
gonna be
original Chrono
iOS
Trigger.
release.
Like it
That's
needs
what they're gonna
to be like
what it's gonna be.
it'll be like on like PlayStation 4 exclusive. I don't give a shit. Whatever. Like I will literally sit and put on my console and play that. I know I've said that before, but I mean it this time. I promise. Cross my fingers. Anyway, but that wasn't one of the leaks. That's just a prediction or whatever. But one of the big leaks that came out, and I know this one probably hits a lot of people here, and we lost Lucy due to technical issues. So if you tuned in to listen to Polish Jesus, he is not here. Please don't leave the channel. Dark Souls 3 was announced, and I feel like I don't know. I'm not the appropriate person to mention that, but this also concerns me in a way. And this leads into the polarizing topic that we've been putting off in this podcast, talking about personally for a long time. I think the Dark Souls series, there's something about it where like every 3 or 4 years you get one. And the same thing with Fallout, where you're like, awesome, I've been waiting for this forever. And it's like, we just got Bloodborne, we just got Dark Souls 2. Like, they're already releasing a third one? Seifer, do you care?
If you release good games,
concern
who
you?
the fuck cares?
You're
I mean-
referencing the sequels versus shovelware, as we were calling it.
Yeah, but that's the
This
thing.
is just-
If you're
this
releasing
is
another
announcement,
game,
though. I mean, it's not. It doesn't mean it's going to release anytime soon.
I know, but like, it's a concern that like, if you
It's
release,
still just a name, though.
even if you say, oh, it's okay if you release a good game every year or whatever, but like, after a while, like Call of Duties, you don't even remember which one came out 2 or 3 years ago. Like, it's
not
just
okay
Call of
to
Duty.
release a game once a year because there's no way it's going to be good quality unless you're making something.
That's what I'm saying. Like, these games they're made with care and passion, and if they if they release Dark Souls 3 next year, it's almost like they're going into the realm of like that constant yearly release for From Software stuff.
I think they're just announcing it.
That's
2 years
a bit
down the road.
too speculative with that. I don't know.
Well,
I
don't
I mean,
like From
they have a
Software.
good track record until they fuck up. I mean, it's not really poignant.
You just say that because you're a fan of the series, but you've seen enough
No, they
games
just
go this
haven't
direction.
let me down yet.
You are the most pessimistic person I know, Seifer. You are being way too optimistic about From Software because you like their games. What I'm telling you is you should be worried.
I hate everything, but I'm loyal to good causes.
I think you're just being
Like Star
overly
Citizen?
skeptical here, just because. I mean, again, we need to see when the release date is. If it's less than a year from now, yeah, then start worrying.
Yeah, what if the year
The
after
big
they
thing
announce
is-
Bloodborne 2?
It's not going to be.
This isn't gonna be another Dark Souls 2 where people are like, "Oh, I don't like this because Miyazaki isn't directing it." Miyazaki's coming back for this one.
That's right. Well, I guess that's a big deal, right? I mean, the quality of the game should be good. Whatever. But that was hardly the biggest, pre-load blowing announcement. I think the biggest one was the Fallout 4 announcement. Would you guys agree?
We've known they've been working on it for a year now.
Well, we've known, but it's different from knowing to seeing, right? So we got this, Bethesda was doing this countdown on their website, which everyone saw was a very Fallout-esque kind of like please stand by screen, and that that timer counted down to the release of the trailer that we heard Guillermo del Toro's studio was working on, and it takes place in Boston, and it's Fallout 4, and it looks like Fallout 3, and oh my god, I watched the trailer like 10 times at work.
It's dog meat.
Did you really watch it 10 times?
It's wicked dog meat.
I watched it, and then I was like, hey, you need to watch this trailer. Honey, you need to watch this trailer. I watched it like 10 times.
And this is what caused E3 to be ruined here.
You're really, really vested in the Fallout series.
I love Fallout. Are you kidding me? Absolutely.
Well, I'm going to say Fallout 3 was probably the most terrible game that Bethesda's done in a long time.
Well,
Judas.
you gotta understand. Listen,
I gotta be the Judas.
I'm with you on New Vegas was better than Fallout 3, but Fallout 3 also reintroduced a lot of people to Fallout. It brought a new sort of fan into the series, right? So it has a value for being what it was, a number title, past that. But of course, the story wasn't super fantastic. But
The story was hot garbage. Like, I was honestly sitting there saying, okay, well, it can't be worse than the main plot line of Oblivion. Oh, no, God, was High Rock.
that I don't agree. That I don't disagree with you on, because going in through a gate and doing the same fucking thing was really fucking boring throughout most of Oblivion.
But throwing me into a fucking story that takes, God, you can complete the Fallout 3 main story in like an hour and a half, and there's nothing substantial to it.
You can speed run the game, not complete the
I'm
story.
not talking about speed. No, I'm not talking about speed running. I'm talking about just moving from main story objective to main story objective. It takes like an hour and a half, 2 hours tops.
It's not a long game, but that's
And
aside that's
but
skipping everything that
but
makes
we
sandbox
know
a sandbox.
that's what I'm saying. But we know these games are more than the sum of their main storyline. We have a lot of a hugely open, explorable world, which was fucking boring. All the locations looked the same. None of the characters were memorable at all. It had none of the good side quests that Oblivion had. It didn't have a Dark Brotherhood like series of quests. It had nothing. They were just fetch quests and go here and kill these guys. And it had Little Lamplight and fuck Little Lamplight.
I like Little Lamplight. Listen, we're not talking about Fallout 3. We're talking about Fallout 4.
I'm talking about Fallout 3. I'm saying my expectations of Fallout 4. Now we know Bethesda worked on Fallout 3, and we know at the same time you had Obsidian working on New Vegas. Two very different games.
Very different.
You had memorable characters and good side quests in New Vegas, whereas in Fallout 3 you did not. Fallout 3 definitely advanced the series to the new engine and the new gameplay style and set the framework basically. But New Vegas perfected it. Fallout 3 was just like, here, play this. It's Fallout sort of.
Well, it also shot
I
itself.
don't get why everyone has such a boner for New Vegas. I mean, it didn't do anything too special.
No, it was.
It's
The thing is,
just an improved Fallout 3.
Fallout 3 shot itself in the foot by taking place on the East Coast, and it was the first game that did so, and so it lost a lot of the struggle between the NCR and the Enclave over there, and why the Brotherhood was important. Like it was completely across the country, and we didn't. It was curious to know what was going on there, but at the same time, it didn't have the same elements that you were used to from the older Fallout games. Plain and simple.
Like
You didn't have
memorable
factions.
characters and stories and factions.
Yeah, factions. I mean, alone right there, that's a whole plug of the story. That's like a big fucking deal. Like, if you walk into a certain town in Fallout, in the earlier Fallouts where you've pissed people off, they're gonna shoot you on sight. Like, Fallout 3 didn't have that. Didn't really have that unless you try to kill everybody in the world.
So, I mean, I'm not excited for this show at all. I mean, we knew it was coming, and I don't understand why they announced it before E3, because now the Bethesda E3 conference is going to have nothing to show.
Well, they could show
They got
gameplay.
Doom. They're going to show Doom. We know they showed Doom at QuakeCon a few months back.
Man, they'll show Doom. They'll show 5 seconds of gameplay on Doom instead of 3 seconds we saw on the previous show.
While we're on Bethesda, Dishonored 2 also got leaked, which is a shame because that was like the big theory, like, oh, we're going to see Dishonored 2 is going to be like a big headlining kind of thing, right? But now we know that's leaked, so people are excited for that as well. It was a good game. It wasn't my style game, but it was fun. But, I mean, there's been a lot of other companies that have talked about their list. Sony talked about its E3 lineup, including the games that were going to be playable on Project Morpheus, which is a pretty long list of games. A couple of the big ones, Arkham Knight, will be available on Morpheus. God of War 3 HD, if you still play that. Ratchet and Clank, the first one. Street Fighter 5 will be. You can play Street Fighter 5 on Morpheus for whatever reason. Tearaway will be on Morpheus. The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. So some old games. I Am Bread, which is coming to PS4, will be on Project Morpheus. So there's a couple of cool games. Dungeon Defenders 2 as well.
They got a pretty good game lineup.
Yeah, they do.
Mostly indies, but I mean that's pretty much all Sony's been lately, and it's not necessarily a bad thing if you like indie games. I know a lot of people give flack for being an indie console right now, but
yeah. But you know what? Like, if you want to put a lot of titles on your new VR headset, which we know is going to be less powerful than what we just talked about and what we've talked about before with Oculus, like, then you're going to need to modify some indie games in order to work on it, if for no other reason, just to be able to play it like that, even if there's no like VR functionality, quote unquote, right? So I mean, this is at least them saying, hey, we have a list of games you can play. Well, guess what? Oculus doesn't have a long list of games you can play on it. Neither does the Starbreeze. Neither does the Vive. Like, it's just theoretical shit. They actually published a set list of here's 25 or 30 games you're going to be able to play when this thing comes out, and that helps build the hype for it, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. I mean, it does.
Well,
Anyway.
I'll just put it like this. Sony has never really been a strong first-party competitor at launch. Like, they've been actually severely lacking for PS3, PS4. as far as exclusives goes. And I think that's hurt them in the past, and I'd like to see that change, but I'm just not that optimistic about it.
Didn't PlayStation release a pretty good launch though?
The original PlayStation, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Had a
but,
decent amount of
you know,
games, Crash Bandicoot, right? Final Fantasy VII.
PS4, very, very lacking on the first party lineup.
Although every new console was pretty lacking on the first party lineup at launch. I mean, what console had a good first party lineup, and what was the last console that launched with a good first party lineup?
I mean, the 64 had
The
Mario
PlayStation.
64, which is
Yeah.
considered an amazing game. I mean, but other than that,
64.
no. Yeah, the
It's
64.
been a couple generations. I won't deny that.
It's good they don't do pack-ins anymore, you know, so they rely on third-party developers to really to develop games for them ahead of time, and you know they don't necessarily say, oh, we're only going to have good games. We can't say that. They're going to be games, but you know, when you don't take responsibility for it and create first-party shit, you're going to get crappy games. But hey, at least Sony is making a studio for the Morpheus, like we talked about 2 weeks ago, and they revealed a lineup of games that you already have played and can get, and a couple of new ones that are going to be playable on it. So that those third-party titles plus the shit that they're making specifically for it, they're going to have probably a larger library out of the gate than, you know, for, at least on console, than Microsoft can say, or that Valve is currently telling us, or Oculus for that matter. Different style games, of course, right? Because I mean, Oculus has
Oculus
Elite
is
Dangerous. I
gonna have
mean,
a huge lineup of games just because so many developers are developing for the Oculus, but
Yeah.
again, that's mostly smaller studios, not big first-party studios.
so here's some other stuff. Like, okay, they said someone said The Last Guardian is going to be at E3. Now, I don't fucking believe it until I see it, right? But this is a game that we saw 5 years ago at E3, 6 years ago, and now it's no longer vaporware. It's actually a thing. Like, who is still interested in this game?
I am.
Who the fuck?
I
You
am.
are, okay. Why? You don't know. You
Honestly,
know nothing
go-
about it.
I would say go back and watch that E3 trailer from 2009
Did
and tell me you don't want to play that game.
I don't?
This is also from Ico and the people who made Ico and Shadow of the Colossus, which are amazing games that are critically acclaimed. So,
I don't know. It's hard.
I mean, can they do it
Deliver
again?
though. You gotta deliver, and you gotta deliver within a
Look.
reasonable frame of time to keep the interest.
Yeah.
It's okay to
I-
be skeptical.
it's
And
still
at this
interesting.
point,
People
we
are
can
still
we can
interested.
sit there and say it's cash on delivery, but
This is the most
This
hyped
is like
game
Half-Life
ever.
3,
I
basically,
don't
for
think it's the
consoles.
most hyped game ever.
No, I think that would be Half-Life 3, but this is like Half-Life 3 for consoles.
Listen, don't throw Last Guardian in the same breath as Half-Life 3, okay? Because Half-Life 1 and 2 had
True, Last
predecessors that are
Guardian
considered
has a
top
higher
10
chance of being
games
made.
of all time, all right? I'm telling you, man, they're waiting for the Vive, man. They're going to be like Vive and Half-Life 3, and they're going to be at E3 next year. They're going to talk about it. Promise you. Listen to this
It's a
It's a
podcast.
game where you're supposed
Gabe's
to
just gonna
befriend
bust through
the.
the fucking wall like the Kool-Aid Man.
Just imagine, next year when we have E3, right, we'll be up to like podcast episode like 143 or whatever the fuck, right? And well, we're going to be talking about Half-Life 3. Promise you. All right. Gears of War 3 will also be at E3. Does this get anyone excited at all?
You're gonna
Gears of
duck
War.
behind walls and shoot stuff.
I don't think
Yeah.
anyone here owns an Xbox, do they?
No, no. I don't. I love the Gears of War
I did
series.
I did play the previous titles in it up through, I believe. Actually, I actually played all three, although 2 and 3, specifically 3 left stuff to be desired.
I played 1, 2, and 3, but I didn't play the one that was like the prequel. Was that one with the one with Dom? Like, I didn't play that one. I kind of lost interest. Got rid of my
The,
360.
like, fourth one, that wasn't really the fourth one in the installment.
Yes.
Like you said that, I didn't actually pick that up because I think that was that Xbox One only, or
It was Xbox 360.
oh well,
All of them.
at that point I just stopped giving a shit then.
I mean, if you're going to play a cover shooter, this is the cover shooter to play. I think
Yeah.
there's a better quality cover shooter.
No, Gears of War is a very good cover shooter. That is for sure. It definitely does the cover shooter mechanic better than I think, dare I say, the Mass Effect games did. But that's not all. So Battletoads was also leaked, and this one's funny, right? Because people were speculating
people-
on this one a while.
And the funny thing is, most people only know Battletoads because of its freaking ridiculous difficulty.
That
It wasn't
and
ridiculously
This is
difficult
Dark
for
Souls
good
back
things,
in like fucking 1980s. This is Dark Souls the 1980s.
Yeah,
all
no,
you
but-
youngins out there.
no
action
no,
adventure style.
Because Battletoads is bad, has high difficulty because of horrible controls, horrible
Yeah,
level
it was.
design. It's not
It was hard for the wrong reason.
So it's like Dark Souls, is what you're saying. Dark Souls had horrible controls, horrible graphics.
No.
I will leave this fucking podcast right now.
Go! The door's right there.
Yes.
Gray is wrong.
I am not wrong, alright? I'm not wrong. That game was horrible, and it looked like shit on the PC, alright? Fuck that game.
La la la,
This is made
can't
for
hear you, la la
PC.
la.
Fuck people that invade your fucking game just to be trolled. Fuck, that game was horrible. Anyway, I think the other thing...
Battletoads is gonna be horrible too.
See, the thing is, even though Battletoads was a game in the 80s that, we only remember as being a hard game, like, it has that running joke on 4chan of, when people call up GameStop and they're like, hey, can I have a question? Do you guys have Battletoads? Like, my fiance was a store manager at GameStop for like 4 years, and she got that phone call over like 200 times, and it pissed her off every fucking time. Now you're going to be able to call GameStop like next year and be like, do you guys have Battletoads? And they have to give you a real answer. No
It's a
longer a
fun
troll.
comic. A
It's
lot of people
a real
forget,
thing.
like all the comical shit that was in the NES game.
I always thought Battletoads was a shitty game. And I think this one will be shitty.
It was
Rare
a
has a
pretty
horrible
shitty
track
game.
record.
Little face.
It was
As with
a
every
pretty shitty
game, we shall wait until it's released.
That's right. We're gonna.
You want to play a rare game? Go play Yooka-Laylee when it comes out.
a real rare game.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
absolutely-
a real rare game, not the Microsoft rare game. God, that fucking I hate it. I don't even want to talk about it. They were
Is
doing
Battletoads-
excellent.
Is Battletoads going to use Kinect?
No, don't even go there. Okay, so XCOM 2 was also announced this past week, and it's going to be a PC exclusive, which I really like. Not just because of that, but because it's coming back to its roots, man. You guys like XCOM? I mean, I didn't play it, but definitely the kind of game if I had time, I probably would. I know Cipher played it.
The original
Yeah, it's
XCOM,
great game.
original XCOM is probably my top 10 favorite game of all time.
The original XCOM, Xenonauts, kind of like a spiritual sequel to the series, was pretty good.
And the new one wasn't bad either.
Now you're getting a 2. And
Let's
it's gonna
see
be
if
on PC.
they improve on the original XCOM, because there was a lot of buggy kind of issues with it.
Mind control.
And hopefully they've learned their lesson.
Clipping through shit and
All right, let's see what else we got here. So, Dragon Quest Heroes has got an NA release date. I don't know what the date is. Maybe you could tell me.
I think it was October or something.
October.
I don't know.
October
I
this
have to
year.
look it up. I should have wrote it down.
And the Banner Saga 2. Banner Saga was a good game. I had some friends who played it. They loved it. It got an announcement trailer as well prior to E3. This is all the stuff that like it's just coming out before E3. Like that probably would have been a really good idea showing on stage, right?
I'm sure there's still shows some of it on stage. But
There's going to be
yeah.
lots.
Yeah, they didn't even show gameplay of it. It's just like cutscenes. They just kind of announced it, even though it was announced before. I mean, we knew it was coming. So
Now
I
it's like
don't-
officially
I don't-
coming.
Yeah, now it's officially coming.
Okay, and there was
officially coming.
a pretty big Kickstarter, Bard's Tale 4. Maybe someone could tell me why this is like huge news because I don't follow the series.
God, I haven't played
Well,
that
I mean,
game
Bard's
since it was
Tale has
on
been around since.
Android.
Bard's Tale has been around since back in MS-DOS days. I mean, it's like
It's old.
alongside my Magic.
No, it's old.
Yeah, so this is big nostalgia for a lot of people, and this is one of these big Kickstarters again. It raised $1 million in I think 2 days or something.
Yeah, they're looking for 1.25 million, and they're only about 4,000 short right now. Well, actually, less than that, about $3,194 short. At 1.246906 mil, 26 days to go. So this is going to get funded like tonight, most likely. So In Exile is making it. In Exile, the guys who rebooted Wasteland 2, right, last year.
Yep.
So that's cool.
And they've been doing the Bard's Tale series. They've been porting the game over. I think it released on the original PlayStation. The new one, the Bard's Tale 3 or whatever it was, whatever they called it, and then they've been porting it over to different devices like the iOS and things like that.
Yeah, they did an Android version of the Bard's Tale, which was phenomenal.
And if
I
you
have it on my
want,
tablet, I play it regularly.
you want to get the game, they're the $20 pledge tier, which is the second tier. It goes from $5 to $20. We'll get you a digital download for Windows, Mac, Linux, available from Steam or DRM free on GOG.
I'm disappointed this is not on consoles.
You would be. And Exile doesn't. They're like, fuck that now. We're making PC games only now. Okay, Bard's Tale. That's cool. All right, so Smash Brothers is getting 4 DLC characters, so I'm sure this makes Papa happy. We're getting Lucas, Ryu, Rio from Street Fighter, Dreamland, Mario, and Peach Castle, and Hyrule, the original N64 game. That's cool.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think. I forget which ones are just coming out and freebies, or which ones are like slightly paid, but they're real cheap. It's like fucking $2 for each one, or 3 if you get it on both versions. Which is, I'm pretty sure everybody who owns one version owns the other version.
Probably.
I don't think Papa's too happy about Ryu being in Smash Bros.
God, no! Can I talk about that for a second?
Please.
Like,
He has invincible startup on his shurikens.
Oh, does he?
Uh-huh.
Game breaking.
And in true Street Fighter fashion, not only his shurikens, his recovery, his up B, not only can you do the up B, but you can also do an original Dragon Punch input. So you can do the Dragon Punch with a regular A attack, and it'll do a basically a Luigi / Ness, Mr. Game & Watch-esque, version of, hey, there's like a 2% chance to just fucking rape your opponent.
Yeah, and you could do it with the Tatsumaki Senkaku and the Hadokens too.
Yep.
You could even do the fiery Hadoken input, the half circle one.
Well, listening to how passionate and upset Papa gets about Nintendo shit.
Dumb. Well, no, the other thing is too, and this is why he's going to go straight to fucking tier 1, S tier, whatever you want to call it, is he has 2 final smashes. If you're near somebody, he does a freaking what is that? I think it's a Shinruken or whatever. Basically a triple hit melee attack, and you fucking go flying off the screen. Or if you're not near
It's
anybody,
a Shinruken.
yeah, Shinruken. Or if you're not near anybody, because actually being able to land a final smash with guys who have close range ones is actually a fairly complex and intricate part of that game. Just in case you're bad and you end up whiffing it, instead of doing the close range Shinryuken, smash, it will actually just shoot a fucking big old Hadouken that kind of warps like Mario's fireball.
Now it's worth mentioning. You said he's going to be top tier. You do not use final smashes in professional tournaments. They don't use items, so you can't have final smashes.
Well, then they're just bitches.
But I think he's going to be top tier just because he has invincible startups and
they
shit
even
like that.
Smash Ball shit aside. There's a lot of.
This is way more than enough. This is way more than enough on Smash Bros.
You suck.
You are upset.
In this podcast.
Give him that one-hit move he did in Marvel's Capcom.
But it's because we have
Setsu.
2 amazing Capcom games to talk about coming up next. So
you want to talk about the
Amazing
Capcom games.
listen, I'm just moving on here. So we're getting the Resident Evil 0 HD remaster / remake, right? Which is like, oh my god, it's basically the GameCube one. We're getting that game again.
Yes!
We're getting a remake of a remake.
We're getting, that's right. Just like we got Resident Evil 1, we're getting Resident Evil 0. And Mega Man Legacy Collection now is going to be in HD, and we're getting Mega Man 1 through 6. And this is the funny thing, right? In order to make the feeling of the Mega Man Collection authentic, they're going to keep in the NES hardware slowdowns in the game.
Oh, nice.
I'm not even kidding you. Like, this was something that people were they were like, we're gonna have that.
No.
It will slow down.
They're doing it because they don't know how to program games.
It's just hilarious. Anyway, I think
Capcom.
no,
The NES blinking too.
yeah, probably right. Yeah,
They did that in 9, 8.
Can they make it come
It's
on
actually
a
an option.
cartridge so we get to blow on it to start up?
that's just wrong.
Collector's
No
edition.
one's blowing into their cartridges anymore. I heard that actually messes cartridges up.
Fucking Capcom.
You gotta get the $50 cleaning kit with a Q-tip.
I'm gonna finish these up, and then May can talk about the other ones that got crap trailers. So Goliath, the survival game where players build a mech and you have to do shit. That's literally what was written on our document. So what's the shit you have to do in this game exactly? Shoot
It was
people?
Like Don't Starve, but with mechs.
Oh,
You
okay.
build a mech.
exciting.
That's what it reminds me of.
So here, the game
It's a
people
survival
actually
game.
probably care about is Ratchet and Clank got a debut trailer as
Yeah,
well.
I think that should have been up top.
Yeah, well, I had to spread them out. I can't put all the amazing news in order. We started with Fallout and Dark Souls 3 and Battletoads. Like, come on, man.
So I saw this trailer, and the first thing I thought, I told Naughtius and everybody, is this is just a trailer full of bullshots because there's no way this is going to run on PS4 hardware.
Really? Is that
I mean,
really?
did you look at the trailer?
No, I didn't actually see it. It's
It looks
that?
ridiculous. It looks like a Pixar movie. I mean,
I'm gonna breeze
there's
through.
no
Oh,
way
wow,
it's
yeah.
going to run on PS4.
I watched it a couple times, and honestly, I don't think the graphics are all that taxing. I mean, honestly, they remind me a lot of like Guild Wars 2. A lot of the environments look very similar with the far off distance worlds and areas and depth of field. So I don't know, it's doable.
Well, to
But-
be honest, I don't know. I think he's right. This trailer looks like it's running at like 60 frames or higher per second, and there's no way the PlayStation's going to do this. Yeah,
But it's going to be amazing.
it's going to be good. Yeah,
Buy it, no matter
like
what.
Ratchet and Clank. So yeah, Tales of Vesperia was announced, as was Tales of Zestiria.
I have no idea what those are.
I don't know why we put these things on the documents.
No. These are really important.
Enlighten
These
me.
games are amazing.
Enlighten me,
Everyone should buy them.
please. One of them is going to be on Steam. The Zestiria one.
Well, they're like classic JRPGs, but they have kind of action combat, and you could switch between characters, but you play a team of 4 characters usually, or however many in the Tales games, and it's action combat, so you control like free. The AI controls free, and you control one character. And I know you could kind of some games you could switch in the middle of combat, but they're really fun games. They have really great combat. The story is kind of cliche anime, but they look great. Yeah, pick up. I'm excited for it. But the important thing with the Zestiria announcement, now this has been out in Japan for a while. It's coming on Steam in only 4 days after the PS4 free and PS4 release. So
Yeah.
that's a big deal. They're finally bringing the Tales games on Steam. So hopefully you guys pick it up and enjoy it.
Yeah, and the actual trailer for that game was actually PS3 footage. I just watched it. It's interesting. And at the end it says and PS4 and Steam, so that's cool. Okay, Figureheads, a 5 vs 5 another mech shooter from Square Enix. So I'm sure we're going to see this at their press conference on Tuesday, right?
Now
Their
this
hands
I
up.
don't maybe but this has only been announced in Japan really, so I don't know if we'll actually see it E3.
Oh, there's
but,
no trailer or anything connected to it, so.
I forgot to put the trailer in, I guess.
That's fine.
Properly. But the trailer had you could customize these little girls, and then they go in mechs, and they scream out Japanese while they're fighting. So I don't know why they did that. Very weird.
It's a Square Enix. They can do whatever the fuck they want. Like Nintendo, just carte blanche, whatever.
Yeah, but Square Enix usually doesn't do that shit.
Sword Coast Legends got a release date. Now, what is Sword Coast Legends?
It is Divinity Original Sin set in the Forgotten Realms.
I am interested now. Tell me more.
I don't know how you
I
haven't heard
I
this.
think I just did.
Okay, now I know everything about it. What's the release date? We didn't put it on the document.
I think that was
September
October
8th. September
Okay.
8th is the release date on Steam.
And Hyrule Warriors is getting a 3DS release. This came out on Wii like last year, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah, mid last year.
So, the pattern as I understand it, is that any game that could run on the Wii U could probably run on the 3DS, right?
There was some graphical downgrades, yeah.
Okay, that's
Sad.
I'm getting at.
That's scary.
All right, so May, why don't you just take us to the rest of the games? They
It's
got
why
trailers.
It's scary. It's just like porting shit from PS4 to Vita and downgrade the graphics, change
But they don't do that.
and you're good.
They don't do that because Sony doesn't
Because
support the Vita.
they don't know how to make money. Nintendo turned a profit recently. I don't know about Sony.
Not on the Wii U, they haven't. There's no reason to buy a Wii U when I can get every game on the 3DS.
Oh, well,
Anyway.
while the Vita is on the breath here, the one thing I want to mention is that we didn't put it in this document, but in a recent interview, sometime on Tuesday or Monday of this past week, a Sony bigwig referred to the Vita as a legacy platform.
Yeah, we're not
Just
going to talk
FYI.
about that.
So yeah, so much for
Nobody's
that.
going to talk about my precious Vita.
Yeah. Okay. So other games that got trailers.
Fortnite from Epic Games is a base building MOBA / shooter hybrid, so it's kind of like Overwatch, but it has like sandbox elements.
All right.
I don't think it'll do very well because Overwatch.
Yeah, Blizzard.
Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare 2 got announced. So, I mean, Garden Warfare 1 was pretty good. So
That's Electronic Arts trying to
yes,
monetize their Plants vs Zombies license.
Indeed.
and
The first one was so well received.
it was well received. So this one's probably going to just cash in on it. Hellblade debuted, I guess, but it didn't have any gameplay or anything, so
Yeah. What the fuck is
that's
this
why it's
cinematic
not
bullshit?
too relevant in there. Toy Soldiers War Chest, which didn't look that impressive. I don't really know much about that game either. Bedlam, which is an SRPG. I'm always for more strategy RPGs. I love them. So I'm moderately excited about that one. Afro Samurai 2, Revenge of Kuma, debut trailer. This is from the guys who made one of those. I forget the name of it. It was like a teddy bear game.
Teddy bear game.
Naughty Bear or something like that. It's Naughty something, and it got really bad reviews. It was one of the worst games reviewed all time, so I don't really expect this
Okay.
one to do well either.
Very much worthy of mention there.
Not good pedigree.
And of course, I need to sneak in a pervy Japanese game in
Right?
there.
Big bouncy boobies.
And this is Galgun Double Peace, which is like kind of like Virtual Cop, the little Virtual Cop games you play in the arcades, except you shoot clothes off girls.
Is this
Right.
is this a match 3 game or?
No.
No, it's I see. It's literally.
No, it's like
It's like a
Silent
round
Scope,
shooter.
but you're shooting
You're
clothes
shooting
off
Japanese
girls.
schoolgirls.
Oh yes, I see panty shots now. Okay, yeah,
Right.
right.
Now you get it.
No, well, I don't, but yeah, I see it's on Vita, so that answers everything.
That's probably for the best.
Well, it's also on PS4 too. But yeah, so there's that, and that's just Japan for now. Legend of Legacy is getting an NA release. It's a JRPG. I believe it's for the 3DS. Death's Gambit. I haven't really looked at that one. That just came up, I believe.
Death's
So I didn't
Gambit.
really get a chance to look at it. It literally just got announced right before the podcast
Let's see.
for PS4. Oh,
It
it's
looks
a side scroller.
Like some kind of 32-bit side-scrolling game. Looks like Castlevania, kind of.
Yeah. So I mean, it could be interesting.
Yeah, action side-scrolling platformer game that you're probably used to.
I believe we talked about this last podcast, but Yoru no Naikuni, which is Land of No Light, got a gameplay trailer and a JP release date.
Oh, I promise
So
you
good
that
for them.
nobody in this channel other than you talked about this last podcast.
Yeah, well, I did.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that for everyone.
Overwatch got a whole bunch of gameplay trailers. I encourage people to check that out. And Nog from Double Fine got a trailer. And I have no idea what this game is about.
I don't
It's a
either.
pretty shitty trailer.
Let's go look at the trailer. Does it have any gameplay?
It's
in
a shitty trailer.
All right, skipping through. There's some crazy multicolored three-dimensional objects. Someone's texting me. This looks
I guess
like fucking weird.
guess they're just going for like Hohokam weirdness there. But, I kind of need to see more of that. That was a shitty trailer.
Yes, that trailer told you nothing about the game. All right. So that's all of your pre-E3 stuff. Let's talk about the games that just released. So there's really only 2, but maybe we want to take us through those.
Did you get Splatoon?
No, not yet.
Why not? What's wrong with you?
I heard it was
I heard
really
it was
good.
Because I suck. What'd you hear?
I heard it was really good. There's
Uh,
been no negativeness on that game.
Right, no, I've seen nothing but good things as well, which makes me even warmer. That I've actually even hooked up my Wii U since the last time I came back from out of town, which was approximately now 2 months ago since I got back from my last outage.
I will say that, like, I didn't play it. I've watched videos of it. I've actually seen a lot of stuff on YouTube about this game. A lot of funny stuff, a lot of match reviews, whatever. But the most glowing uh, stuff I've heard about Splatoon, what came from Jim Sterling on his Podquisition this past week, where he said like he could actually see Splatoon becoming like contributing something significant essentially to the shooter genre, even though it's not really a shooter, because there's an element in the game where like you don't kill the other players necessarily; they're just kind of a hindrance to your goal. Like the goal really is to just cover the base in your color, and like occasionally you kill the enemies to slow them down, but they're not the objective. Like the objective is clearly looking at the floor and
Well,
painting the walls and shit.
well, the goal is actually to collect stuff in the game usually, but you achieve that by painting the floor so you could travel very quickly across the
Right.
arena.
And you have to turn into a squid to like recharge your ink. Like
And then
it's interesting.
Your opponent can kill you, but you do respawn very quickly. But your opponent will try. What your opponent should do is try to hinder you and try to paint over your paint, so you can no longer traverse quickly over that area.
Yeah, it's like a shooter. It has shooter elements that take the KDR out of it. Like that's not like a thing you think about. And the other interesting thing about it too is it doesn't have any voice chat. Um, and when you queue up, even if you queue up with your friends and stuff, it doesn't mean that you're going to play with your friends. It actually randomly assigns the teams regardless of whether you're sitting in like a group chat with them or whatever. So that's another interesting element to it too. Like it's trying to make the game. It puts fun before like strategy and organization, which I think is at the very heart of what Splatoon is trying to do. So it looks like a super fun game, and if I had friends to play it and I decided I wanted to lug that giant thing in my hand, I probably would play it.
The other thing is, like I said, there's a few things that are different, but I found just an interesting, meme. Not that I like talking about memes, but it shows Splatoon and like Call of Duty, like the whatever the fuck newest one came out, and it showed Splatoon and it said, made for kids, adults play it. Call of Duty, made for adults, kids play it, and that's pretty true. I've never seen like an actual adult play Call of Duty. It's always like 8-year-old British kids.
This
Just
game,
like Halo.
this game's made for everybody. It looks like so, very cool.
I don't know. I watch it and I'm like, why are you not playing Team Fortress 2?
Because it's new. It's new and it's on
Well,
Wii
this is
U.
completely different from Team Fortress 2. I mean,
It gives people a reason to justify their Wii U purchase.
Because PC
Not easy
gaming
to-
is confusing.
I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it.
You guys are just console haters.
I'm not hating on consoles.
I don't hate
I'm
it.
hating on the game.
Yeah,
Anyway.
you hate consoles.
Anyway, let's go on to the last
Papa
game
doesn't want in here that doesn't-
so we can move this along here because we have a press conference coming up in like an hour.
Well, the other game that got released did not get good reviews. I haven't seen a really good review of it.
The massive chalice.
That's really surprising because like the game concept itself sounds like a fuckload of fun, and it has XCOM style battle. For the people who aren't aware, the idea is that you create a bloodline over like the course of several hundred years, and you wage war and like you marry royal families, try to create basically good stock. You pass on abilities to your characters. Like you're always trying to breed the next generation of like hero and royalty, and you along the way you like create relics that you can pass down to future generations, which have special stats and stuff like that. And it sounds like a pretty fun and amazing kind of game, and it didn't like show well or something. I don't get it. Like I have this on my wish list, but I mean I don't care about the reviews. But it's surprising, I think, to see it not doing as well as I think Double Fine thought it would. This game doesn't interest any of you?
Nope. I know I'm usually interested in SRPGs, but this one doesn't seem like
It's a shame.
worth purchasing.
All right, so Massive Chalice. It's like a 33% off on Steam too, and it just came out like last week before. So, okay, let's move on to upcoming games. What can we expect to come out between now and the next podcast?
So there's not much because of E3, so nobody's willing to release any games during E3, but there are 3 big titles coming out. So June 23rd, we got Batman Arkham Knight.
Yay!
Yay, DLC.
With tons of DLC. Yeah.
But yes, it is an open world style beat 'em up game. You're playing Batman.
You know, anytime Rocksteady has talked about this game, and this is like a slap in the face to Origins, which was not made by them. They're talking about how this game is going to wrap up the Batman trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the previews have not been overly positive of this, which is surprising.
Well, you know what? On PC at least, if you bought an NVIDIA card or go on eBay, you can get the game for $20 now. So I mean, you're not exactly taking a huge risk on buying this game. You know, if you just want to
Yeah, you
complete
just
your
have to buy a
collection.
video card. It's,
Oh, but people resell the code. You know, it's for like $20 on
Ah.
eBay. So you know, if you
but yeah, it's coming out on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. So I mean, I would wait for the reviews on it, unless you're getting it for $20 somehow.
yeah, almost can't go wrong. Almost.
Should be. It's definitely going to be worth $20, I'm sure. Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition is coming out. It's a spectacle fighter, as the term has been coined, and it's coming out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One on June 23rd. Also, anyone picking that up? I'm guessing no.
No, I wasn't into the DMC
You're
series.
gonna pass on that one.
Seifer's gonna buy it. Well, I know
I
Seifer.
like the first two.
I know Seifer's gonna buy the next one.
Bitch, you're the guild leader. You better buy it too.
No, on Tuesday. After Tuesday, I'm no longer the guild leader.
Oh, great. Exodus confirmed.
He's just waiting for fall.
I haven't even told my whole staff yet, but yes, that's the thing. So yes,
Final Fantasy 14 Heaven's Ward. Yay!
finally.
Early access Friday, June 19th.
There's new classes people are going to play, and
There are 3 new classes: a tank, a
You
DPS,
fly
and a
around.
healer.
Like an Aeon.
That's right, on your flying
like,
mounts.
in every mode it has flying mounts.
That's right. It's gonna be like flying mount attunement quest and all that kind of shit. I'm bummed. I'm bummed because like, you know, I was hoping that this game was gonna come out way sooner, like in May, end of May, like early May or whatever, when it was announced last year, and it just didn't. And unfortunately, the early access it comes out not this Tuesday, but the next one, which is the 23rd, as you said. But the early access is this Friday. But I'm getting married on Saturday, and then the week after is like my honeymoon week. So it's like I'm not even gonna get to play this. Really get to sink my teeth into the new classes or like level up to 60 for like 2 weeks, and that really sucks, unfortunately. But you know, I'm getting married, so congrats to me, right?
But which is more important, getting married or leveling up?
Don't ask me those kinds of questions because I don't know who might be listening.
Why not both?
Why not both?
Game. If it's Final Fantasy leveling up, then you know the answer.
Can you run a bot or something like while you're in the wedding?
Listen, I'm gonna put her to sleep, and you know I'll get some game time in over that week.
But yeah, it's coming out on PC and PS4.
Sure is. All right, so that's just the 3 games that are coming out post E3 week, and so the big GOG sale began the day after our last podcast, right? It was like the first, or no, it wasn't that early, was it? It was the 8th. But anyway, so GOG sale is happening. That's the DRM free site. And the Steam sale just went live this past week on the 11th. Like, have you guys really sunk your teeth into any of the sales? Is there anything that you think is worth buying right now?
It's tough to say. They've been doing some janky stuff. Like they're listing games at their original retail prices with their Steam discounts. So, you know, a game that might have sold for like $20 last month is back selling it at default $50 or $60 with the 50 or 60% off. So it's like there's really not a whole lot of deals going on.
There's only a few games that did that, though. I mean,
It's enough of them.
There's a lot of good pickups there, but I'm not buying any games on Steam, so I haven't bought any.
My big problem is anything that's I want to play, I already own.
Yeah. You know, The Witcher just takes up so much fucking time. Like any open world sandbox game does. Like it almost feels like I'm never going to get to play another game on my list for like the next 3 months anyway. And like I've been staying away from this Steam sale despite me having $71.37 in my Steam wallet. Like there's a lot of stuff I would buy, but I'm like, when the hell am I going to get to play it? And it will be cheaper by the time I do.
I hope Tabletop Simulator goes on sale there.
It was
More people pick it up.
it was on
Yeah, if it
sale the
does, I'll
first
buy it for
day.
a 4-pack.
It was on sale the
Was it?
first day. Yeah, it might still be on sale because they went out of early access like the same week that the Steam sale went up, or whatever, and they did have
When
the
the
4-pack.
Steam sale comes around, everything goes on sale. The trick is waiting for the 60% plus discount.
Let's
Right
see.
now it's 33%. It's at
Right.
13.
So wait for the
39.
60.
Yeah, wait a little longer.
The
But yeah,
daily
it's
deals.
$13.99 for the single, or $40.19 for the 4-pack. It was $5 cheaper for the base game when it was in early access. It was $14.99. This is kind of this is one of those examples I think of like it came out early access, so the price went up $5, but then they discounted it like from 25 to like 33, so it didn't really change the price that much.
I have a sneaky suspicion that next podcast we're going to be talking a lot about Tabletop Simulator.
You think so?
I think so. They're entering into a realm of copyright and controversy, the likes of which we haven't seen for a while.
You are absolutely correct.
I don't honestly think it's as controversial though. I mean, a lot of the developers seem to be on board with this. The board game designers.
But it only takes one to really put the hammer down for it to make it a big deal. Like Steve Jackson Games clearly doesn't want Munchkin on.
Well, here's
their
how quick
service.
stuff happens. Small World went up the other day. I snagged it. At the end of our tabletop group the other night, I loaded up Small World so everyone could see it. Papa went to go find it today, and it's gone. I had to give him my save game.
You have to send me that.
Although they did release Small World 2 along with Ticket to Ride on the actual Steam platform.
There are actual PC games of Small World and Ticket to Ride.
You're gonna send me that save file because I love Small World.
Yep, I got it.
He sent it to me, but I couldn't get it to work. I think I'm also
I
a
sent you the zip
freaking
file,
dumbass. And it was
Wow.
RAR, and I don't have anything to
Oh,
unzip
for
RAR.
God's sake.
What?
Don't-
Windows unzips RARs.
Apparently it didn't.
Should.
7Z.
Is there anything you guys are playing right now that's stopping you from buying games on the Steam sale?
I did finish
Witcher
Witcher
3.
3, so I'm done
Yeah.
with Witcher 3, actually.
Congratulations, that's a
I'm also
milestone.
It was a long one, and
Oh,
am I
yeah.
going to do a second playthrough? No.
On your easy mode playthrough,
It was normal.
100%
Thank you.
completion.
Who gives a shit if it's easy mode or not? You play that game for the story, not the gameplay.
Precisely.
If you think that combat system is amazing, it is not.
No.
It is very boring. It's hit X a lot. Occasionally hit Y to change it up. Remember to put Quen on. It's not that interesting, really. I mean, fight a Wraith, you're like, oh, I gotta put down the Yurden
Well,
trap. Like,
later in the game, I was able to take the flamethrower approach, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
well, it's good to know the gameplay can change.
You don't even need the flamethrower. You just hit Igni and everything ignites if you have enough intensity.
Yeah, the flamethrower is so much fun.
All right, any see for you Papa, you guys playing anything you want to talk about in the podcast?
Drone Fantasy 14 still.
Oh, I see.
Still
Okay.
prepping a little bit before early access.
Yeah, I really got nothing. Just taking it easy, chilling with Tabletop Simulator with everybody else in this channel.
I think so. So, where are we streaming, guys? You guys got any new stream channels that you want to plug on here today? AI, I know you've been playing a lot of Witcher 3 on Death March difficulty. I see it pop up on my hitbox email every time.
Yeah, and I also was playing Operation Tokyo Abyss a little bit. I'm probably gonna like that in Witcher. It's for a little variety.
Why don't you tell everyone what your channel is so we can go and follow you?
It's hitbox.tv/AI Monster.
Very good. And Cipher, have you been streaming any of the Final Fantasy stuff? I mean, I don't think you have, right?
Not at the moment, just because it's incredibly boring to both do and watch.
I have to
All
agree
the
with
stuff
you on
I'm
that.
doing, all the stuff I'm doing, no one wants to watch.
Come play Final
Sitting here
Fantasy, folks.
Crafting 400 things.
Don't you guys do some like pony farming shit where you kill a giant rock guy? I don't know what that has to do with pony farming, but
You're right. This past week we had about probably 7 or 8 ponies to finish up. You have to collect the 6 elemental ponies to be able to unlock the 7th pony, 7th awesome pony, which is Kieran. It's like a pony. It looks like a pony, but it has dragon scales, and it's basically a dragon. It has dragon horns and stuff. So it's like a very rare mount because you got to go through the grind of getting all 6 elemental ponies, and the way you do that is by defeating the avatars. And the drop rates used to be really, really, really bad, like 1%. Now they're maybe like 5 to 6%, so they're better. But it's still a lot of grind, and we have about 9, maybe 10 people in NI that now have the Kieran pony. I was the first one to finish it, basically just by luck because we all rolled when the pony dropped and we needed it. But I did stream on twitch.tv/GreyGeraldin, which is also the channel you can see this podcast on. I did stream like our last 2 to 3 pony farming nights, and it was fun and interesting, and it was nice every time you get a pony, to be like, hey, we got a pony, awesome, because like they don't pop up very often, so when they do, it's kind of like a moment of celebration. And in our final pony gauntlet, we were fighting Ramu, and we had a whole night, about 2.5 hours, where we got no ponies, and the next night we went about an hour into Ramu not getting a pony also, and then in the very last hour we got 3 ponies and 4 kills. It went like pony, no pony, and it was like we only needed 3, and it was like awesome, we're done. So it was pretty streaky, and it was fun to be there and experience it. So I put that up on Twitch so that people could experience it with us. We had some watchers. I don't know if anyone stayed really, but it was the thing we did.
Realize you sound?
Are we still talking about pony farming? Like really? I can't talk about Smash Brothers, but you can go on for 5 minutes about ponies.
He sounds like an 8-year-old girl.
It was fun. All right, fuck you guys. It was fun.
So you get all 6, and then they have to combine with the Friendship of Magic and all that
Right.
shit.
The Captain America pony. I have that pony.
Does it shoot rainbows out its butt?
Doesn't do anything fun, but hopefully you'll be able to turn it into a flying mount when Heaven
That's so
comes up.
boring.
Looking forward to it being a flying Kieran.
At least we get fat chocobos.
Yes.
That's
But
much
you have to
better
have
than ponies.
you have to have the regular fat chocobo to turn it into the flying one in Heaven's Word, from what I understand. Well, if we
You
have
to
no,
pre-order, you have to have the old pre-order to turn into a thing with the new pre-order or something.
I think the fat chocobo was a veteran reward bonus. I could be wrong.
I thought it was a PS4
Yeah.
pre-order item.
It's a veteran reward, and then there's the Parade Chocobo. That's an achievement, I think.
Yes, that one is an achievement.
What was the pre-order bonus for PS4?
It might have been.
Uh,
It might have been, but it is a veteran reward.
no, it
Like
was
everybody
Behemoth.
gets it.
Behemoth Mount was the 2.0 pre-order.
Oh, okay.
Oh no,
I
wait, no, it wasn't.
It was for PC. You got it for PC.
Oh, the Corial
Coral
I
mount.
think?
Yes, the coral mount. The kitty mount.
Yeah. Fuck, I don't remember.
Anyway, this is all in the Mog Station. If you have an account, you can go look. But anyway, do we have anything else we want to talk about or plug before we head on out of here, gentlemen? We have a Bethesda press conference coming up in 50 minutes.
Woo!
No, all right.
Oh. You want to talk about
I
tabletop
wonder what they're going to
RPG?
announce.
Well, we didn't talk. Yeah, we didn't talk about what we've been playing on tabletop lately.
So the tabletop group has a set Thursday night and Saturday night game, but we're looking to develop some freeform RPG nights. Fiasco is actually one of the forerunners for the freeform nights, but there's also a lot of interest for D&D 5th edition. And if you're not familiar with 5th edition, it's kind of new. It's like D&D 3.5 edition. I don't know. I'm talking weird shit here. It's the D&D version you love, just more streamlined. So there's a lot of interest. Probably have a thread going about it this week. Got some people who are interested in actually co-DMing the campaign. So
Cool.
We'll see what we can do.
Alrighty. So with that said, yeah, if you want to join tabletop, get on our site and get on through or follow us on stuff. So we're going to be back in 2 weeks. Where I'm sure we're going to talk about all the E3 stuff that we're going to see tonight and throughout the week. We'll be back on Sunday, June 28th. In the meantime, you can stop by our website at impact-gaming.us. Send us some questions at podcast@impact-gaming.us. You can follow us on Twitter at impact_gaming CM, on YouTube at Impact Gaming Videos, and you can find us on iTunes by searching IGC Podcast. Subscribe to us, leave a review, say something nice. In the meantime, I want everyone who's a gamer to enjoy this week coming up. This is going to determine whether or not you're going to care about games for the next year. Thank you guys for coming and listening. Everyone who's watching on Twitch, everyone who's sitting in the channel here, anyone who listens to us on iTunes. You guys are the reason we keep doing this every week. Thank you very much. See you next time, and game on.